Chapter 909. After all, Yin Hong was an elite warrior at the fifth calamity of the genuine Supreme Tao stage. Although she was controlled by the poison of the divine venomous puppet, she was different from other puppets. Her consciousness had not completely fallen, and she still had the thought of resisting. However, she also knew that the power of the divine venomous puppet could make her divine soul explode at any time. When she saw Qin Wushuang glaring at her with full of power, the corner of Yin Hong's mouth raised slightly. She carried some stubbornness, yet she did not answer. Qin Wushuang let out a cold sneer. Yin Hong, since you are also a grandmaster of regeneration, I will not torture you. Do you think I have no way to make you speak? If I continue to increase the poison of the divine venomous puppet, your consciousness will be completely controlled by me. In that case, your divine soul will be completely under my control. You will speak everything you want to say. I will leave some leeway. Don't pretend to be virtuous before me. I dare to take you down because I have sufficient evidence. I just didn't expect that your Horn-Kiss clan is the Dragon Clan of the Endless Eastern Sea. Why did you betray the Tianxian land and seek refuge with the foreign tribes? Yin Hong said angrily. Qin Wushuang, since you schemed against me, why didn't you kill me directly? You beat around the bush. Could it be you are afraid that I will run away? Qin Wushuang let out a light smile. You don't say. I am afraid that you will run away. Initially, I remember clearly how Saberbeard ran away from my aspiring throne mountain. If you're a spy from the foreign tribes, certainly you would have the same escape method. I must be prepared. So, those 9 people were indeed sent by you. Qin Wushuang said leisurely, those are just my puppet clones. I also taught them a sword formation to deal with stubborn people like you. Yin Hong was extremely ashamed and resentful. Shameless. Qin Wushuang said seriously, Yin Hong, as a beast clan of the Tianxian land, you betrayed the interests of the land and sought refuge with the foreign tribes. You still have the face to say shameless? Yin Hong shot out a crazy look from her eyes as she laughed. All right, I am shameless. So what if I am a traitor to the Tianxian land? The Tianxian land betrayed me. Why can't I betray the Tianxian land? And you, Qin Wushuang, don't put on that righteous face. Don't you just have a graceful spiritual bow and flaunt your prowess? Otherwise, who knows how many times you would have died? Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to inherit the graceful spiritual bow? And Golden Cicada, that short-lived ghost. At that time, I was so dead set on loving him, but he ignored me. What happened in the end? Didn't he die in front of me? And those sanctimonious totem elite warriors, in order to deal with Golden Cicada in secret, they used all kinds of methods to coerce me. They wanted to use the beauty trap to deal with Golden Cicada. When I refused, they killed my father, my clansmen, from top to bottom of the Tianxian land. Not a single one of them is not despicable and shameless. They should have been exterminated long ago. Yin Hong was so agitated that she scolded him in one breath like a crazy woman. It was completely out of place with her exquisite figure and beautiful face. Qin Wushuang shook his head inwardly. He flicked his sleeve and shot out another divine venomous puppet poison. It seemed that Yin Hong's emotions were extremely unstable. If he did not control her consciousness completely, he would not be able to get any information out of her. After this divine venomous puppet poison was shot out, Yin Hong immediately became much more subdued. She raised her eyelids weakly and called out in a low voice, Master. Qin Wushuang said indifferently, I am not interested in listening to your long-winded past. Even if there are many unfilial people in the Tianxian land, it is an internal conflict. It is not a reason for you to collude with foreign enemies and lead a wolf into your house. Tell me, who is the person in charge of the foreign tribes? Person in charge? I don't know. Yin Hong's eyes were blurred, and she appeared to be in a daze. You don't know? How did you get in if you don't know? Qin Wushuang was furious. I am only responsible for an elite warrior called Zhan Yu. He told me to listen to the orders of the Golden Crow. Perhaps that Zhan Yu is the person in charge. Zhan Yu, who is that? How is his strength? I don't know about his strength, but I feel that his temperament is stronger than those paramount totem elite warriors. Heavenly Supreme Tao elite warrior. Qin Wushuang frowned. This time he got in because of Zhang Yu's arrangement? Or the Golden Crow's arrangement? The Golden Crow arranged it. It told me that after I got in, I should deliberately delay the time and enter the 9th stage later. I should deliberately put on airs and create a commotion to attract attention. That's it. Qin Wushuang was completely dumbstruck. That's it. Yin Hong was honest and clearly, she was not lying. That Golden Crow didn't tell you what to do, or to break some seals, or do some big moves. No, it just asked me to do these inexplicable things. It said that if I could do these things well, it would be a great contribution. In the future, it could help me to advance to the heavenly, supreme Tao stage. Qin Wushuang knew that the current Yin Hong would not lie. Since she was not lying, then it was strange. Regardless of how bored the Golden Crow was, it would not have sent a spy to do such meaningless things, right? To attract attention? Qin Wushuang's mind trembled. Could it be that this Yin Hong is only a cover, a chess piece to deceive people, and someone else is doing great things? He hurriedly asked, "Did the Golden Crow tell you who to contact?" Yin Hong shook her head. "No. Besides knowing Zhang Yu, I don't know who else they are. How do I contact them?" The expression on Qin Wushuang's face changed slightly. Inwardly, he complained incessantly. He realized that although the Golden Crow was killed by his senior brother, he had played it beautifully. He had played both him and senior brotherly by. Yin Hong did not know who to contact. It would be impossible to use her as a breakthrough point. In other words, Qin Wushuang's hard work in following Yin Hong was in vain. He was led by the nose by that Golden Crow. Thinking here, he immediately contacted Wang Chan, Chief Wang Chan. "How is that 9-change celestial tiger?" Wang Chan said with a bitter smile. "This guy is swaying around. I don't know what he wants to do. From the looks of it, it seems to be deliberately teasing me." Qin Wushuang's heart sank. Another Yin Hong. It seemed that this 9-change celestial tiger's mission was the same as Yin Hong. It was also used to deceive people. In fact, it was just for show. Such profound methods. Qin Wushuang could not help but feel impressed by that Golden Crow. Although he appeared to be bossy and domineering, he was not completely brainless. Clearly, this strategy was to deliberately expose a flaw to senior brotherly Bai. Even someone as cautious as senior brother had made a mistake. The list given by senior brother only had Yin Hong, and the 9-change celestial tiger. Now it seemed that the Golden Crow had arranged an even more secretive figure. This more secretive figure was the true chess piece of the foreign tribes. Who could it be? Who could it be? Qin Wushuang's brain was in a mess. This was his first time encountering such a troublesome opponent. Although he was already dead, he could still bring so much trouble. Yin Hong, and the 9-chain celestial tiger don't know who that person is. However, since that person is the final chess piece, certainly he knows that Yin Hong, and the 9-chain celestial tiger are supporting him. Certainly, the Golden Crow knows clearly about the primary and secondary relationship. If we make a move on Yin Hong, and the 9-chain celestial tiger, most likely we will beat the grass and alert the snake. I am fine at the 9th stage, but Chief Wang Chan. Thinking here, Qin Wushuang immediately said to Wang Chan, "Chief Wang Chan, don't make a move on that 9-chain celestial tiger. Let him do whatever he wants. As long as he does not make any excessive moves, don't make a move on him. The situation has changed." Instantly, he spoke out all of his speculations about the situation he encountered. Wang Chan was also dumbstruck and could not make a sound for a while. "Little friend Wushuang, this way, behind the mantis stalking the cicada, there's an oriole. Yes, and perhaps he is still secretly watching us at this moment. He is really too cunning." Qin Wushuang smiled bitterly. Now, there was no use in lamenting. Qin Wushuang said, "Chief Wang Chan, continue to follow the 9-chain celestial tiger. Don't beat the grass and alert the snake. I will release Yin Hong, and use her as bait. Let's see if we can lure out the big mastermind behind this." Now, they could only use such a stupid method. According to Qin Wushuang's speculation, if that hidden person was ordered to do something big, he might not have been paying attention to Yin Hong, and the nine-chained celestial tiger. After all, this matter had a primary and secondary relationship. Therefore, although he made a move on Yin Hong, he might not have exposed his identity. Most likely, it was still relatively safe for now. Immediately, he said to Yin Hong, Yin Hong, I will give you a chance to perform a meritorious deed. If you do it well, you can bear the crime of being a traitor alone. If you don't cooperate, I will hand you over to the totem powerhouse. Then, your entire fish dragon clan will be slaughtered. The muscles on Yin Hong's face twitched slightly. Qin Wushuang's words had directly broken her last bit of defense. She was powerless to refuse such feelings. In fact, although Qin Wushuang despised this Yin Hong, he more or less sympathized with her. Indeed, to deal with Golden Cicada and seize the graceful spiritual bow, those totem powerhouses had used dishonorable methods. Although Yin Hong did not name them directly, Qin Wushuang estimated that most likely the shadow of the Xian Yuan Mound was involved in this matter. To deal with Golden Cicada, the Xian Yuan Mound had always been the vanguard. In the end, didn't Golden Cicada die at the Xian Yuan Mound? Just when Qin Wushuang released Yin Hong, temporarily, another wave of movement emerged from Qin Wushuang's communication jade plate. From the other side, Bao Bao's anxious voice emerged. Boss, where are you? There's a great treasure here, a great treasure. Qin Wushuang said unhappily. Didn't I ask you to calm down? There are people involved. Let's give up first. Boss, we were the first to discover it. In the beginning, no one participated. They only came after we discovered it. Bao Bao's tone sounded somewhat wronged. Qin Wushuang nodded. Who is the mastermind? It's the paramount totem elite warrior of the extreme North Snow Zone and a group of mysterious underworld totem warriors under him. Boss, we still have the geographical advantage. We are still in a stalemate. I already told them that we can give up and leave, but they did not agree. They're afraid that we will spread the news and bring a large group of people. Humph, isn't that an unnecessary move? If you leave, you can bring people here. If you stay there and use the communication jade plate, can't you also bring people here? The communication jade plate is different. Inside this 10th maze, the terrain is dangerous and unfamiliar. We cannot tell where we are at the moment. Boss, don't talk nonsense. I will go immediately. Even if others could not find it, it would be impossible for Qin Wushuang not to find it. With the observant finger jade plate in hand, it would not be a problem to find anyone. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 9-10. It was no wonder that Bao Bao and the others could not stay calm. This cave dwelling they discovered by accident was the inheritance left behind by a third calamity elite warrior of the heavenly supreme Tao stage from the immemorial era. In the immemorial age of the gods, all the heavenly supreme Tao experts had participated in the battle to save the world by sealing the Milky Way boundary. Therefore, before they set off, everyone had agreed to bury all their inheritances in the god-discarding maze. This was also planning for the worst. They placed the inheritance inside the god-discarding maze. Even if one day the Tianxian land was breached with this god-discarding maze, at least they could leave some inheritance for the Tianxian land. The inheritance of the heavenly supreme Tao stage was the only hope for the revival of the Tianxian land. Therefore, everyone was passionate about exploring the god-discarding maze. On one hand, it was because this god-discarding maze was the battlefield where the immemorial gods fought against the foreign tribes. On the other hand, it was because the inheritance of the immemorial gods was hidden inside this god-discarding maze. Of course, there was another major reason. During the immemorial war, the first batch of foreign supreme Tao warriors that invaded the Tianxian land had their corporeal bodies destroyed. However, their divine souls were not shattered and were sealed inside this god-discarding maze. Due to various reasons, this god-discarding maze only opened once every few thousand years. That was why the entire Tian land scrambled for it. The cave dwelling of the third calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage that Bao Bao and the others encountered would definitely be an exceptional existence even in the immemorial era. During the immemorial era, the strongest warrior of the Tian land was only at the fifth calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. For the third calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage, he would definitely be a top elite warrior. Such figure would definitely rank in the top 20 in the history of the Tian land. In the 10th maze, it was indeed rare to encounter a cave dwelling of this level. It could also be said that it was the highest level cave dwelling that appeared after the opening of the god discarding door. Qin Yunran and Lone were testing it internally. Bao Bao was guarding the entrance of the cave dwelling. He pulled the yin-yang stretching rod and was in a deadlock. Bao Bao and the others were also unintentionally planting a willow tree and growing a shade. Along the way, they respected Qin Wushuang's instructions and did not deliberately fight for anything. Along the way, they also encountered many battles. They did not participate even once and kept a low profile. Sometimes, fate was this strange. If you did not pursue something deliberately, fortuitous opportunities would fall upon you. Bao Bao and his friends had accidentally broken into this cave dwelling. It was precisely because they weren't mentally prepared that they were so happy that they forgot to conceal themselves and alerted the nearby mysterious underworld race experts. The experts of the mysterious underworld race informed the mysterious underworld race's supreme being, Kong Mingzi, to come over together. Fortunately, Bao Bao was alert. When he sensed something wrong, he immediately guarded the entrance. After forcefully taking the initiative, even though Kong Mingzi had an overwhelming advantage, he did not dare to rashly charge in. Bao Bao threatened that the mysterious underworld race could barge in. At most, he would activate all the defenses inside, and everyone would perish together. No one would be able to escape unscathed. Although Kong Mingzi was powerful, he was helpless when encountering someone as mischievous as Bao Bao. They couldn't really force their way in, could they? This monkey had a shrewish personality and would do as he said. He was a supreme totem elite warrior. He couldn't be dragged down by such a godly beast and perish together with it. It wasn't worth it. Kong Mingzi had no doubts about the defenses of the third calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Once all of them were activated, killing Kong Mingzi would be no different than crushing an ant. Therefore, although he felt his dignity as a supreme being elite warrior was being challenged, he still controlled his temper and said with a hint of temptation and threat, "Golden monkey, I know you have the bloodline of the ancient spiritual monkey and have a boundless future. Don't let your emotions affect your decisions." Bao Bao said lazily, "You guys are the ones letting your emotions affect your decisions. We already discovered this cave dwelling. First come, first served. The mysterious underworld race has no reason to interfere. Besides, from the 9th to 12th stages of the god discarding maze, there are more than one cave dwelling left behind by the heavenly supreme Tao stage. You guys don't want to make progress and want to take advantage of the situation. I am afraid it's against the rules, right?" Regarding the cave dwellings left behind by the heavenly supreme Tao stage, there were indeed many in the god discarding maze. There were at least 200 of them. All of them were distributed from the 9th to 12th stages. At most, the first 8 stages of the maze contained treasures left behind by the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage. The last 4 stages were the core areas. Although there were so many of them, it would not be easy to excavate them. These cave dwellings were not placed there for people to pick up. To excavate such cave dwellings, one needed opportunities and luck. Up to this point, only 4 or 5 had been excavated. Most of them were the first calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Up to this point, not a single cave dwelling with a heavenly supreme Tao weapon had appeared. Even in the immemorial era, the Tian land was rather lacking in resources. For the first calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage, unless they were exceptional, it would be difficult for them to craft a heavenly supreme Tao weapon. Firstly, They were lacking in resources, and it was not easy to find those materials. Secondly, they lacked powerful crafting skills. This time, with the appearance of a cave dwelling at the third calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, the mysterious underworld clan was naturally moved. 4 such cave dwellings, there would not be more than 20 in the entire God discarding maze. In these short 4 months, there might not be a second chance like this. Naturally, Kong Mingzi was extremely astute. How could he let go of such a great opportunity? Although Bao Bao's words made some sense, how could Kong Mingzi be evaded by a few words? He said with a fake smile, "Junior brother Golden Monkey, the cave dwellings in the God discarding maze always have a rule. Everyone who sees it gets a share. Although you excavated it first, we were only 1 step behind. If you have the power to take it all for yourself, of course I have nothing to say. However, think about it. Can you take it all for yourself? Haha, I cannot take it all for myself. I cannot let you take advantage of it. At most, we will wait. I will wait until the 4 months are over. Let's see who is more ruthless." Bao Bao said resolutely and decisively, without leaving any leeway. Once the 4 months were up, everyone must leave. Or else, once the God discarding door closed, they would die without a doubt. Kong Mingzi's expression sank slightly. Being the paramount totem elite warrior, no one had ever contradicted him to his face. Naturally, Bao Bao's actions made him feel abnormally angry. If he did not fear the defenses of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, Kong Mingzi would have already charged in to skin Bao Bao alive and pull out his tendons. "Head Chief, it's not a good idea to waste time like this," one of the elders of the Dark Mysterious clan said in a low voice. How could Kong Mingzi not know that it was not a good idea to waste time like this? He gave a light sneer. "Golden Monkey, I have a suggestion. Do you want to hear it?" "Tell me." Bao Bao deliberately delayed time. The cave dwelling of the third calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage must have a lot of good things. I also have some knowledge of mechanisms and defenses. Why don't we go over it together? We will split the goods 50-50. Honestly, your family cannot digest the goods of the third calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. To put it nicely, even if I leave and spread the news, would you be able to leave alive after getting these goods? This was a problem. Bao Bao bit his lips lightly, and after thinking for a while, he said, "I found it first. At least I will get 70%. When Kong Mingzi saw that his tone had loosened, he was overjoyed inwardly. Since there was room for discussion, it was a good thing. Once they were able to enter, would it still be up to them to decide how much they would get? 70%? You are too greedy." Kong Mingzi deliberately pretended to be displeased. The Dark Mysterious clan is a totem powerhouse. We hold a much higher position than the Qin clan. You get 70% and we get 30%. This is not in line with the rules. Bao Bao cried out, "In the God discarding maze, no one will talk about rules with you. Don't think that the totem clan is extraordinary. You monkey, you have such an aggressive tone." One of the elders of the Dark Mysterious clan scolded angrily. Bao Bao twitched his mouth. "I'm only speaking the truth. If the totem clan is truly extraordinary, how come I don't see you guys making any big moves when the foreign tribes are eyeing you covetously?" Kong Mingzi said, "Little Golden Monkey, let's not engage in a meaningless battle of words. How about this? I will take a step back. You guys get 60% and we get 40%. This is the bottom line. Or else, even if we have to give up, we will leak the news and let everyone come snatch it. By that time, everyone will go their separate ways. In the worst case, no one will get anything." Before Bao Bao could speak, a light laughter emerged from afar. "Daoist Kong Mingzi, let's go our separate ways. Who do you think you can threaten?" Upon hearing this voice, Bao Bao was overjoyed instantly. "Boss, you are finally here." Kong Mingzi's expression turned cold. Qin Wushuang did not disguise himself as he floated to the outside of the cave dwelling. As he looked at the desolate terrain, he saw that it was an underground valley that was incredibly deep and desolate. Indeed, it was not easy to find this place. "Haha, Daoist Kong Mingzi. The Qin clan discovered this cave dwelling first. I advise you not to hold too much hope. Kong Mingzi narrowed his eyes into a line. Qin Wushuang, last time when you came to the extreme North Snow Zone, although we did not treat you well, we did leave some leeway. For today's matter, could it be you are not leaving any leeway? Taoist Kong Mingzi, a straightforward person, does not resort to insinuations. Last time, if you had truly left some leeway, I would not have done the same today. Unfortunately, last time, besides looting a burning house, you did not leave any leeway for me. If it weren't for the fact that the elite warriors you sent were too useless, most likely I would have fallen into your trap during that trip to the extreme North Snow Zone. Qin Wushuang was not a narrow-minded person. However, it would be difficult for him to have a favorable impression of the mysterious underworld clan. After all, initially at the mysterious underworld city, if the elite warriors of the mysterious underworld clan had not agreed, Ling Sheng of the Heavenly Mountain sect would not have acted blindly without thinking. Kong Mingzi let out a wild laugh. Qin Wushuang, I gave you some color. Did you really open a dye house? For this cave dwelling, the mysterious underworld clan is determined to take it. There's nothing I can do with that stinking monkey in there. You're on the outside. It depends on where you go. If I take you, that stinky monkey will have no choice but to compromise. Qin Wushuang seemed to have guessed early on that this Kong Mingzi had such conduct. With a chuckle, he mocked, Kong Mingzi, wouldn't it have been better if you had revealed such a face from the start? There was no need to pretend to be a gentleman in the beginning. Kong Mingzi laughed instead of getting angry. Good, you clever and eloquent kid. I heard that you are the inheritor of the immemorial formation. That's good. On the outside, Li Bai will take care of you. Inside this god-discarding maze, let's see who will protect you. Before the sound of Kong Mingzi's words had dropped, another cold laugh emerged from the distance. Taoist Kong Mingzi, you still need to improve your temper. As soon as this voice emerged, the expression of Kong Mingzi changed instantly. He gave a cold sneer. Since when did the Qin clan wear the same pants as the Karakoram immortal sect? Could it be that the Qin clan wants to curry favor with the Karakoram immortal sect and betray the Xian Yuan Mound? Haha, this is interesting news. Wait for me to ask Taoist Xian Yuan Yang what's going on. How did he teach such disobedient subordinates? Today, a guest came to the house. I am somewhat busy and cannot get into the mood. I will just update this chapter. Tomorrow I will resume updating. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 911. Of course, this person was Wang Chan, the head chief of the Karakoram immortal sect. Among these paramount totem elite warriors, Wang Chan was someone Qin Wushuang recognized. On this point, he shared the same opinion as senior brother Li Bai. Naturally, when encountering such a matter, Qin Wushuang knew that he could not take care of that mysterious underworld clan alone. Therefore, he invited Wang Chan to come with him. Wang Chan instructed his subordinates to keep a close eye on the movements of that nine-change celestial tiger and not to alert the enemy. Naturally, the cave dwelling left behind by a third calamity heavenly supreme Tao warrior was a major matter. Kong Mingzi often interacted with Wang Chan and had a deep understanding of his strength. When he saw Wang Chan coming, he also complained incessantly inwardly. Taoist Kong Mingzi, in the past I didn't see you as someone who would sow discord. How come you can lose your cool all of a sudden? Wang Chan asked calmly. On the left and right, Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan stood on both sides. Vividly, Qin Wushuang's temperament was on par with Wang Chan. As Kong Mingzi looked at this disciple of the Qin clan that had suddenly appeared, for a time, he felt he was a stranger. The temperament of this young man was this powerful. During the Heavenly Emperor Mountain struggle, the news of how Qin Wushuang fought Xan Tianwen had spread to every corner of the Tianxian land through various channels. People also had a clear understanding of Qin Wushuang's strength. Everyone knew that at that time, Qin Wushuang was hovering between the genuine supreme Tao stage and the transformation supreme Tao stage. The great battle at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain was less than 20 years away. How come all of a sudden, this Qin Wushuang had the power to be on par with the paramount totem elite warriors? Not to mention seeing such speed of improvement, they had never even heard of it. As Kong Mingzi pondered this, he looked at the elite warriors of the mysterious underworld clan around him and felt somewhat bitter. Initially, they had a clear advantage in today's situation. Following the appearance of Wang Chan, the advantage had turned into a disadvantage. Kong Mingzi brought 4 true supreme Dao experts this time. His strength was similar to Wang Chan's. However, among the 4 people under him, the strongest was only at the 5th calamity of the true supreme Dao stage. Seeing Qin Wushuang standing there in such a majestic manner, Kong Mingzi did not have much confidence in his subordinates. However, as a totem power, the mysterious underworld race couldn't just turn around and leave. Kong Mingzi would not be satisfied if he did not get a share of the heavenly supreme Dao 3rd calamity immortal cave. Fellow Taoist Wang Chan, you're quite well informed. Kong Mingzi said sarcastically, everyone knows that it is impossible for the mysterious underworld race to leave this cave abode at the 3rd tribulation heavenly celestial Tao level. Rather than wasting time here, it would be better for everyone to have a peaceful talk. What's the best way to allocate it? Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan looked at each other, knowing that this Kong Mingzi was not easy to deal with. It was unrealistic to not share any benefits with him, even if they could work together to repel the mysterious underworld race. After this Kong Mingzi left, certainly he would exaggerate the truth and pour dirty water on them. By that time, they would be in great trouble. Wang Chan said indifferently, fellow Kong Mingzi, since the Qin clan found this cave abode first, it's already good for us latecomers to get a share of the pie. How about I give you a suggestion? What do you think? Kong Mingzi said with a cold sneer, tell me. The Qin clan gets 50% for those who came first. For the remaining 50%, I will get 30%, and you guys will get 20%. How about it? In fact, this was the result Wang Chan had discussed with Qin Wushuang on the way. Kong Mingzi let out a strange laugh. 20%? Wang Chan, do you think you're sending away a beggar? What virtue and ability does the Qin clan have to get half? Yet you, fellow Taoist Wang Chan, came alone, so why should you get 30% while I came with 5 people and get 20%? Wang Chan did not speak any nonsense and only asked, 20%, how about it? I get 30%, you get 30%, the Qin clan gets 40%. This is the bottom line. Kong Mingzi rolled his eyes and gave the distribution plan his mind. In his opinion, this was already a compromise. Qin Wushuang said with a cold sneer, fellow Kong Mingzi, it seems you have forgotten that the dark mysterious clan does not have much capital to negotiate. If we were to truly make a move, what do you think the dark mysterious clan has today? Stern lights flashed across Kong Mingzi's eyes as he glared at Qin Wushuang. He said coldly, what? Do you want to fight? Are you trying to lure everyone here? Qin Wushuang said leisurely. Who is afraid of who? Anyways, my friends have already picked up all the good things inside. As soon as he said these words, Kong Mingzi's expression changed instantly. 20%. You can either accept it or break up. Don't think that you have a big mouth and can threaten us by spreading the news. Qin Wushuang did not leave the slightest leeway for the dark mysterious clan. In fact, this 20% was an additional concession. In any case, the dark mysterious clan was also a totem powerhouse. Kong Mingzi, 20% of the treasure and returning empty-handed. Any smart person would know what to choose. Wang Chan said with a leisurely smile, I think you would know how to make this choice. In fact, Kong Mingzi was extremely annoyed inwardly. How could he have the leeway to choose? The other party was simply forcing him to put on airs. He had to accept it even if he did not want to. He said angrily, all right, 20%. However, you're not allowed to play any tricks. All the benefits must be fair and open. During the distribution, you're not allowed to play any tricks. Haha. Kong Mingzi, You're looking down on me too much. Since I plan to split with you, there is no need to play any tricks." Wang Chan and Qin Wushuang exchanged a glance and nodded. Indeed, this heavenly supreme Tao cave dwelling was extraordinary. In fact, Bao Bao and the others did not have the guts to explore it further. Naturally, Qin Wushuang's previous words were to bluff Kong Mingzi. However, Kong Mingzi was not a scoundrel. Inwardly, he was even more happy. Since the Qin clan did not pocket all the good things, this was the situation he wanted to see. When the entire cave dwelling was opened, indeed, there were many treasures. At the scene, there were 4 heavenly supreme Tao weapons. This was definitely an unexpected surprise. Naturally, the Qin clan got 2 pieces. Wang Chan got 1, and Kong Mingzi got 1. For the other good things, each of them divided them strictly according to the distribution plan. Initially, Kong Mingzi was feeling somewhat annoyed. However, once he got the good things, he was also beaming with joy. There were 3 levels in this cave dwelling. The treasures in the first 2 levels were all distributed cleanly. When they arrived at the exterior of the 3rd level, people from all 3 parties carried great hope. Inwardly, they all had a form of expectation. The first 2 levels already had heavenly supreme Tao weapons. Would there be more fortuitous opportunities and treasures in this 3rd level cave dwelling? When the 3 parties worked together, the 3rd level was successfully opened. What left everyone dumbfounded was that there were no treasures at all in the 3rd level of the cave. There were only 3 strange tokens. The shape of this token was rather long and resembled a dagger or a key. It emitted a form of unique charm. Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan exchanged a glance. Clearly, they did not know the meaning of these 3 tokens. However, Kong Mingzi rolled his eyes rapidly as he rushed to speak first. "You two, let's make it clear. For these 3 tokens, I must take 1. If they were to follow the distribution plan, he would not get 1. However, there were only 3 of these tokens, and they were placed in the 3rd level cave dwelling. One could imagine their importance. Even if he did not know the use, Kong Mingzi would certainly take 1, since it would be a waste not to take it. Not to mention, with his experience, of course he knew that since this thing was placed here, it must have its use. Qin Wushuang declined to comment. For sure, this thing must be some kind of token. It would be enough to have 1. It would not hurt to give 1 to Kong Mingzi. When Wang Chan saw that Qin Wushuang did not object, he laughed. "Kong Mingzi, put away your little thoughts. You will get what you deserve. It's useless for you to fight for what is not given to you." Kong Mingzi rolled his eyes. "Wang Chan, today there are many of you and your attitude is high. I will endure it. Next time, I hope you will not be left alone." Wang Chan said lightly. "Next time, I do hope there will be a next time. I just don't know if those foreign tribes will give us a next time." When mentioning the foreign tribes, a trace of bitterness flashed across Kong Mingzi's eyes. Qin Wushuang said, "Let's not talk nonsense. You two, each of you will get 1 token. After you get it, leave immediately." The 3 figures turned into 3 streaks of light and grabbed at the 3 tokens. After they got it, they plundered outside with the momentum. In a moment, they arrived outside the cave dwelling. This time, everyone prioritized harmony and got what they wanted. Indeed, everyone was happy. Even Kong Mingzi had nothing to complain about. Qin Wushuang said, "You two, there are many cave dwellings in this god-discarding maze. I hope you two will continue to have good luck. I also hope that all other powerhouses in the Tianxian land will have good luck." Before the foreign tribes, the little internal conflicts within the Tianxian land are not worth mentioning. I only hope that when the foreign tribes invade, you and I will have more trump cards to fight against them. Kong Mingzi felt apprehensive inwardly. Clearly, the way he looked at Qin Wushuang had become much more complicated. After all, those that could become paramount totem elite warriors were not completely brainless. They still had the ability to see the big picture. In front of the non-human kind, small conflicts and conflicts were nothing. Once the foreign tribes invaded, if the Tianxian land did not have enough power, they could only accept death. Whatever internal conflicts and fights, they would all become fleeting clouds. With an awkward cough, just when Kong Mingzi was about to say some polite words, suddenly, Wang Chan pulled the token from his hand and revealed some strange looks. You too, use your divine soul to communicate with this token. Wang Chan's voice trembled slightly. Clearly, his emotions had suffered a tremendous impact. Upon hearing his words, Qin Wushuang and Kong Mingzi immediately did as they were told. In a moment, the complexion of these two also changed slightly. When they looked at each other, the gaze that shot out from them carried a strange feeling. Is this true? Kong Mingzi asked with some excitement. Now, Wang Chan had completely thrown away that little bit of friction from before and beamed with joy. Since this is the hint from the token, it must be true. It seems that the immemorial gods have buried a glimmer of hope for us. Wushuang, what do you think? On the contrary, Qin Wushuang was the calmest. Upon seeing these two paramount totem elite warriors being so excited, Qin Wushuang felt some strange feelings emerge from his heart. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.qijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 912. This miraculous token was the qualification token that led to one of the mysterious areas in the 12-layered maze, the soaring Galaxia Tower. The so-called soaring Galaxia Tower was a platform inside the soaring of Galaxia barrier. It was a space created by the immemorial gods. In this space, the essence of the gods of the Tianxian land gathered. It was also a platform created by the gods for the later generations of the Tianxian land, a platform to dash for the heavenly supreme Tao stage. It was also the only place in the Tianxian land where one could soar to the Galaxia. This platform was the glimmer of hope left by the immemorial gods of the Tianxian land. At the same time, it was a tiny flaw in the soaring of Galaxia barrier. However, this flaw could never be seen from the outside. Therefore, up to this point, this platform did not bring any negative effects to the soaring of Galaxia barrier. To Wang Chan and Kong Mingzi, who were only at the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage, it was definitely a tremendous temptation. Luck. This was definitely luck. After receiving the hint from the token, the expression of Wang Chan and Kong Mingzi immediately became extremely complicated. On the contrary, Qin Wushuang appeared incredibly calm. After the ecstasy, Kong Mingzi regained his calmness. You two, we must keep this matter strictly confidential, or else the other paramount totem elite warriors will swarm over. Wang Chan declined to comment, but Qin Wushuang shook his head with a smile. Kong Mingzi's expression changed slightly. Taoist Wushuang, you are young and impetuous. You don't know the severity of the matter. The qualification token of the soaring Galaxia Tower is even more precious than the soaring of Galaxia command plate. Who knows? Maybe we'll only find the 3 pieces in our hands this time. You don't want a large group of elite warriors to stare at us, right? In terms of strength, Kong Mingzi was not afraid of anyone. However, if he was stared at by a group of people, he would feel uncomfortable, especially with such incomparable treasures in hand. Such competition would not end until one side died. Qin Wushuang said lightly, Taoist Kong Mingzi, this batch of wealth left by the immemorial gods is shared by all the elite warriors of the Tianxian land. This is not only fortuitous opportunities and gains, it also means responsibility. I don't mind that all elite warriors receive such qualifications. The Tianxian land is not afraid of having too many elite warriors of the heavenly supreme Tao stage, but there are too few. Despite your words, there are only these 3 qualification tokens. Could it be you want to give up your spot? Then you really have noble character and unquestionable integrity. Kong Mingzi said somewhat sarcastically, Fellow Taoist Kong Mingzi, don't focus your gaze on such a place. If we can discover this cave, others can discover other caves as well. Since the controller of the God Discarding Door had opened the God Discarding Maze, it was equivalent to revealing the entire God's ruins. This is the last chance for the Tianxian land. I think we should work together and let bygones be bygones. If we can't unite now, we'll never have the chance to do so when the outsiders break the Starry River barrier. The non-human kind was an eternal pain and pressure. Once the topic was brought up, Kong Mingzi had nothing to say and said embarrassedly, "It's easy to say, but if they don't get the command medallion, they will definitely keep an eye on the 3 pieces in our hands." Qin Wushuang said, "Gentlemen, I won't be unreasonable at this time. Go to the 12th maze first and try to find the location of the Star River Tower as soon as possible. As for me, I will go and meet those supreme totem powerhouses. It's not appropriate to announce this news on a large scale, but after all, I will tell all the totem paramount elite warriors." Wang Chan sighed with emotion. "Wushuang, it's rare for a young man to have your breadth of mind and responsibility. I am impressed. Selfless. You deserve to be praised as such." The corner of Kong Mingzi's mouth twitched. Although he felt this Qin Wushuang was somewhat stupid, he must admit that if it were him, he would never be this noble. "Fellow Taoist Wang Chan, since fellow Taoist Wushuang is so righteous, let's not waste time. Let's go to the 12th maze quickly. If you and I go together, we could discuss everything, right? In case of any sudden situation, the more people there are, the more strength there is." Of course, Wang Chan would not refuse Kong Mingzi's suggestion. Qin Wushuang shot a glance at these two and said, "You two, I have a word of advice. When you arrive at the Star River Tower, please put the righteousness of the Tianxian land as the top priority. You must not engage in those meaningless fights. Currently, the Tianxian land does not have much capital to engage in internal strife." Kong Mingzi chuckled and nodded. "All right, I swear that when I arrive at the Tower of Babel, I will cooperate with you sincerely. I will put the righteousness of the Tianxian land as the top priority and personal gains as the second priority. Is this all right?" Such generosity was not pretentious. Of course, Kong Mingzi was also making a wise move. He would not get any benefits from Wang Chan anyways. It would be more satisfying to cooperate with Wang Chan sincerely. Kong Mingzi's subordinates were all nearby and were easy to get rid of. Wang Chan's subordinates were at other places. Wang Chan instructed them seriously to keep an eye on the 9-change celestial tiger. The two of them went ahead together. Bao Bao, Qin Yunran, and the others walked over. They looked at Qin Wushuang strangely. Qin Wushuang laughed. "Why are you looking at me like this?" Bao Bao laughed. "Boss, vividly, your temperament a moment ago has the bearing of a leader of the Tianxian land." "Ha ha! Even the paramount totem elite warriors would not dare to act presumptuously with you. Boss, I can already foresee that in the near future, these people will all submit to you." Qin Wushuang revealed a solemn expression as he gave a long sigh. "What I am pursuing is not whether they will submit to me or not. What I want is for our Tianxian land, this plain that belongs to us, to not fall into the hands of foreign tribes, to not become someone's slave." Inwardly, Qin Yunran felt apprehensive. Why else would they say that the head chief had an outstanding breadth of mind despite his young age? This was temperament. This was the temperament that an elite warrior should have. "Bao Bao, you guys continue to explore. Again, don't linger in battle. I will contact the paramount totem elite warriors of the other houses." In fact, Qin Wushuang was also feeling frustrated inwardly. He could not find a mastermind hiding behind the scenes. The news of the soaring Galaxia Tower was related to the great plan of the heavenly Supreme Tao sect. He must work hard. After weighing the severity of the matter, Qin Wushuang still decided to inform these paramount totem elite warriors first. Regardless, these paramount totem elite warriors needed the platform of the soaring of Galaxia Tower the most. As for the other genuine Supreme Tao elite warriors, they were still far away from the peak of the genuine Supreme Tao stage. For the time being, it would not affect them much whether they win or not. Naturally, the first one he found was Xin Yuanyang. The relationship between Xin Yuanyang and Qin Wushuang had become extremely unpleasant due to the problem with the Xian clan. Later on, when it came to the distribution of the soaring of Galaxia commanding plate, Qin Wushuang had argued for it with reason. Inwardly, he was still somewhat conflicted with Qin Wushuang. Upon seeing Qin Wushuang come to his door, Xin Yuanyang's attitude was neither salty nor indifferent. Sect Master Qin, in this god discarding labyrinth, time is money. Let's talk after we get out of here, Xian Yuan Yang said with a somewhat distant tone. How could Qin Wushuang not know Xian Yuan Yang's thoughts? He revealed a light smile. Sir Yang, today I came to find you because of this god discarding maze. I only have one question to ask. Why did you and I come to this god discarding maze? Xian Yuan Yang said lightly. This question seems somewhat redundant. The god discarding maze is the inheritance passed down by the immemorial gods. Of course, you and I came here to inherit these inheritances. Then, what will happen after inheriting these inheritances? Xian Yuan Yang raised his eyebrow slightly. Chief Qin, speak your mind. There is no need to beat around the bush. Qin Wushuang revealed a free and easy smile. All right, then I will go straight to the topic. Sir Yang, do you think that with the current power of the Tianxian land, how much assurance do we have to resist the invasion of the foreign tribes? This question caused Xian Yuan Yang's gaze to instantly turn piercingly cold. He fixed his gaze at Qin Wushuang, and after a while, he gave a light sigh. He said with some desolation, if the foreign tribes invade now, the Tianxian land will have no hope. Initially, he thought Qin Wushuang was young and impetuous and would refute him. Unexpectedly, Qin Wushuang agreed with him deeply as he nodded. That's right. Therefore, I only came here to tell you that it's time to put aside all grudges and conflicts outside the god-discarding door. Xian Yuan Yang gave a cold sneer. Chief Qin, you seem to have forgotten our identities. There's a difference between us. A trace of an untamed smile spilled from the corner of Qin Wushuang's mouth. Sir Yang, it's because your Xian Yuan clan is nominally the superior of the Qin clan that I address you as Sir Yang. A moment ago, when I was exchanging pointers with Wang Chan and Kong Mingzi, at most I would call them Daoist friends. Wang Chan, Kong Mingzi? Xian Yuan Yang's gaze was uncertain. How did they get together? They already put aside their former grudges and are preparing to work together. Sir Yang, you're all paramount totem elite warriors. You should be able to throw away the things they threw away, right? Xian Yuan Yang laughed absurdly. Wang Chan and Kong Mingzi were never on good terms. They're working together? What for? What else can they do? Currently, the common enemy of the Tianxian land is the foreign tribes. Xian Yuan Yang raised the corner of his mouth. Foreign tribes? Can they deal with the foreign tribes by working together? That's a pipe dream. Ha ha. Sir Yang, you're standing still and limiting yourself. You're judging people with your own eyes. The only thing that could unite them was a higher calling and a stronger sense of mission. I can tell you that these two have already stepped onto the stairs to the heavenly supreme Tao stage. As soon as he spoke these words, suddenly a ball of radiant light emerged from Xian Yuan Yang's eyes. Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage. These three words deeply stimulated Xian Yuan Yang. How could this be possible? However, Qin Wushuang's confident and certain gaze clearly showed that he was not speaking irresponsibly and boasting. Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage? They received the call of the Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage? Xian Yuan Yang asked slowly. He stared at Qin Wushuang with an incredibly cold gaze. Qin Wushuang smiled calmly. That's right. They unearthed a cave dwelling of the third calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage and received the qualification to cultivate in the Tong Tian Tower that leads to the soaring of Galaxia boundary. Finally, Xian Yuan Yang's calm expression changed. Although he did not understand the details of the Tong Tian Tower that leads to the soaring of Galaxia boundary, he knew it was reliable when he heard this explanation. It was impossible for the immemorial era of the gods to not leave behind any hope. Could it be that this Tong Tian Tower was the only thread of hope left behind by the immemorial gods? To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 9:13. Sir Yang, I came to find you not because your Xian Yuan clan is the superior of the Qin clan, nor because you are the paramount elite warrior that I must curry favor with you. I came to find you for one reason, for the greater good of the Tian Xian land. For the Tian Xian land. Only by uniting as one and having more heavenly supreme Tao elite warriors appear will we have the capital to resist the invasion of the foreign tribes. Or else, everything is just empty talk. Internal strife and competition will never allow the Tian Xian land to welcome the dawn of hope. Qin Wushuang was not trying to stir up emotions. However, deep inside his heart, such emotion was indeed surging. It allowed him to speak these words with a strong sense of righteousness. As if it was the first time Xian Yuanyang had met this young man, he stared at Qin Wushuang for a while and gave a long sigh. Chief Qin, then how do we get to the soaring Galaxia Tower? Qin Wushuang said, you must acquire the passage plate. This plate can only be found in those advanced cave dwellings. Xian Yuanyang still wanted to say something, but Qin Wushuang said, Sir Yang, I have already delivered the message. I must contact the paramount totem elite warriors of the Eastern Sea and the southern border. At this time, working together with sincerity is definitely the wisest choice. Fighting for personal gains will only cause pain to those close to you and delight your enemies. Xian Yuanyang said thoughtfully, you mean? Qin Wushuang said, I suggest that regardless of who finds the advanced cave dwelling first, if you acquire that plate, you must share it immediately. Time is money. The Tian Xian land does not have much time to squander. When Xian Yuanyang looked at the clear eyes of this young man, he was moved inwardly. In such eyes, there was not the slightest bit of selfishness. There was only that kind of impassioned expression. By the way, Sir Yang, please do not spread the news of this soaring Galaxia tower. Among the 50 people that acquired the advanced soaring Galaxia commanding plate, at least 3 of them are foreign spies. 2 of them have already been targeted, and the last one has yet to be discovered. Therefore, this news must be kept confidential. Xian Yuanyang was greatly astonished. Qin Wushuang had already left far away. For the endless Eastern Sea, Golden Ray Dragon King was rather easy to talk to. Under Qin Wushuang's suggestion, naturally he did not have any objection. Hearing that Wang Chan and Kong Mingzi had already arrived before him, Golden Ray Dragon King, who was an extremely competitive ancestral dragon expert, was also impatient to search for those high-grade abodes. In the southern border, Jiang Ming, the supreme totem expert of the Shinnong clan, had a relatively easygoing personality. He usually appreciated Qin Wushuang, so it was easy to persuade him. As for the other totem power of the southern border, the Fire God clan, with the death of the supreme totem elite warrior, they were currently without a leader. The Shinnong clan had already taken over. The 2 totem clans of southern border had merged into one, and there was already a trend. In this way, all the totem forces had formed a temporary unity of thought. Of course, this was also their wisest choice. Under the joint efforts of several totem forces, a few days later, another third calamity, Heavenly Supreme, Tao, cave dwelling, was successfully excavated. 3 paramount totem elite warriors had successfully acquired the command plate to head to the soaring of Galaxia Tower. Following in the footsteps of Kong Mingzi and Wang Chan, they also headed towards the 12-layered maze. Currently, the 5 forbidden spiritual zones and the 6 totem powerhouses had reached an agreement under the instruction of each leader. Each of them had sent out 2 absolutely reliable totem elite warriors to form a temporary alliance to take over the 9th to 12th maze. Once the immemorial Heavenly Supreme Tao cave dwelling was discovered, it must be handled by this alliance before it could be explored. Nominally, this suggestion was the instruction of each totem paramount elite warrior. In fact, it was the result of Qin Wushuang's mediation in secret. This was also to prevent that undercover agent hiding in the dark from playing any tricks. After this alliance was formed, even if they discovered the immemorial cave dwelling, it must be handled by the 12 totem elite warriors together to explore it. Qin Wushuang's method was also a choice out of helplessness. After all, under such circumstances, it would not be a wise choice to publicize the news of the undercover agent. Certainly, it would cause people to panic. After beating the grass and alerting the snake, Certainly the undercover agent would be more cautious when he received the news. After this arrangement, Qin Wushuang expected that even if more immemorial cave dwellings were excavated, those command plates to the soaring of Galaxia Tower would not fall into the hands of the undercover agent. When Qin Wushuang arrived at the soaring of Galaxia Tower, all 5 paramount totem elite warriors had already entered the tower. This soaring of Galaxia Tower had a total of 6 levels. Currently, the 5 paramount totem elite warriors were only qualified to stay at the first level. Only when they broke through the restraint of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, they were qualified to enter the second level. The 6th level corresponded to the 5th calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. This was also the strongest warrior of the immemorial era in the Tianxian land. Indeed, this soaring of Galaxia Tower was a great work. It could only be done by the joint efforts of all the deities. This step had already left the 12-layered maze and led directly to the soaring of Galaxia barrier. Inside the barrier, they used a trace of flaw to communicate with the outside world. It was because it was named the soaring of Galaxia Tower. When they saw Qin Wushuang arrive, the 5 paramount totem elite warriors all stood up to welcome him. This time, if it weren't for Qin Wushuang's suggestion, the 5 paramount elite warriors would not have come together. Now, when they arrived at the soaring of Galaxia Tower, they finally understood what it meant to be at the peak of the Tianxian land and what it meant to be an elite warrior. At the same time, this sense of mission as an elite warrior had allowed each of them to achieve a sublimation. Because of this sublimation, they admired Qin Wushuang even more. They admired his breadth of mind, his bearing, and his foresight. In comparison, the time they came to realize this was far too late. Everyone, how do you feel? 4 months isn't a lot of time. Do you have the confidence to break through the restraint of the genuine supreme Tao stage and soar to the Galaxia? Wang Chan laughed. Wushuang, this soaring of Galaxia Tower was built by the deities with their lifetime of effort. It's extremely miraculous. Training here, 1 day, is comparable to a month. We still have 3 months. It's not short compared to 8 or 9 years in the outside world. To put it bluntly, the few of us are old guys at the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage. Unless something unexpected happens, it's not a problem to break into the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Golden Ray Dragon King chuckled. Little brother Wushuang, I see that your strength is not weak either. How about it? Do you have a hope to go crazy with us old guys this time? Qin Wushuang laughed. To me, these 3 months might be too little. I haven't even passed the 8th calamity. Forget about the 9th calamity. How about I stand guard for you guys? Everyone was overjoyed. Initially, they were also worried that if someone were to barge in without eyes, any bit of outside interference during the 9th calamity of the genuine supreme Tao stage would cause them to fail at the last hurdle. Now, hearing Qin Wushuang say he would stand guard for them, it was the best thing. Everyone, let's hurry up. Qin Wushuang did not speak any more superfluous words and started to train outside the Tong Tian Tower. However, his training was mainly focused on tempering his divine soul. It would not affect the 5 paramount totem elite warriors inside. Of course, to be on the safe side, Qin Wushuang also let out all 9 golem puppets. They arranged themselves according to the position of the 9 palace return 1 sword formation as the outer guards. This Tong Tian soaring Galaxia Tower was like a floating building that hung high above the soaring Galaxia barrier. Looking from afar, it was a brilliant galaxy. This scene was extremely magnificent. Qin Wushuang looked at the Tianxian land beneath his feet, and a surge of magnificent emotions surged in his heart. At this moment, inside the Tong Tian Tower, the 5 paramount elite warriors had already started to sense the 9th calamity. Once they broke through the 9th calamity, they would be at the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. The Heavenly Supreme Tao stage that had never appeared in tens and thousands of years. On this day, the entire Tong Tian Tower suddenly emitted a slight trembling sound. In all directions, All kinds of strange lights kept shooting out and transformed into various images that danced around the first floor of the Tong Tian Tower. Strange phenomena kept happening. Qin Wushuang looked at this scene silently, but his heart was abnormally calm. He knew that the historical moment was finally coming. Suddenly, 5 strange lights shot out from the first floor at the same time and enveloped the entire first floor of the Tong Tian Tower in this kind of brilliance. It appeared extremely solemn and dignified. Is it going to break through? Qin Wushuang straightened up and stared at the Tong Tian Tower without blinking. Boom! 5 strange lights suddenly shot up and carried 5 figures that directly rushed to the top of the 10,000 zhang tall second floor of the Tong Tian Tower. Qin Wushuang's eyes shot out light. Looking at this glorious scene, he mumbled, "Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage. Have they finally broken through to the Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage? Haha, fellow Taoists, everyone is fine. Good, good, good." This was the voice of the Golden Ray Dragon King, cheerful and cheerful. Kong Mingzi also couldn't hide the pride in his heart. Haha, this is great. The peak of the genuine Supreme Tao Stage that has been suppressed for thousands of years has finally broken through. Broken through. This is unbelievable. It was indeed a dreamlike feeling. They originally thought that in this lifetime, it would be impossible for them to break through to the Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage. However, this scene had really happened before their eyes. Just as Qin Wushuang was about to greet them, suddenly, the god discarding labyrinth under the Galaxia Tong Tian Tower trembled violently. This trembling was as if the labyrinth was about to collapse all of a sudden. In an instant, it had reached the level of a landslide. What's going on? The 5 Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage experts turned into meteor-like lights at the same time and landed beside Qin Wushuang. Their eyes were solemn as they looked down. Qin Wushuang didn't know what had happened at that moment. At this moment, the communication jade tablets of the 6 people sent out signals one after another. Sect leader, something bad has happened. Sect leader, there's a big change in the god discarding labyrinth. Boss, the situation is not good. Just now, suddenly, there was a violent trembling. In the 12th labyrinth, demonic aura suddenly filled the air. 20 to 30 rays of light flew out and rushed out. It seems like some seal has been unlocked. The incident had happened so suddenly that the news couldn't accurately convey the situation. The expressions of these people changed at the same time. The seal had been unlocked. This news was like a whip that slapped on their faces. The thing that they were most worried about had finally happened. They had been on high alert, but it still happened unavoidably. This spy had indeed hidden himself very well. Qin Wushuang made a prompt decision. Everyone, these seals must be the souls of the foreign races that have not died. They have just escaped, and their strength hasn't fully recovered. Let's go and hunt them down quickly. Kill as many as you can. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 9:14. Outside the mysterious door, Li Bai and the others had clearly sensed the changes inside the god discarding maze. Certainly something major had happened when the heaven and earth were shaking. Li Bai's expression changed as he mumbled, "Still not locked onto them?" He let Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan be in charge of keeping an eye on the 2 suspects. With their strength, there should not be any problems. However, now there was no time to consider these problems. He called out with a low voice, "Everyone, be on guard. We must stop those divine souls from escaping." However, the speed at which 20 or 30 divine souls escaped was too fast. As soon as they plunged out, they transformed into a murderous aura that filled the sky and threw themselves at the group of martial artists below. The heavenly mysterious 7 disciples made a move almost at the same time. Boom! The 7 master god weapons unleashed their power at the same time and directly killed the 7 closest divine souls. As for the remaining dozen or so spirits, amidst miserable cries that filled the sky, They carried their bodies and fled like lightning. Instantly, Li Bai's expression changed. Second, third, you guard this god discarding door. Once any divine soul comes out, kill them without mercy. The others chase after them. Li Bai estimated that besides the 7 divine souls they had killed, there were 16 other figures. Judging from their speed, they were all divine souls at the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Most of them had taken away martial artists from the scene. Clearly, these divine souls only had one goal, and that was to plunder a corporeal body to rest in. Or else, regardless of how powerful these divine souls were, it would not be a long-term solution without a corporeal body to rest in. Inside the god-discarding maze, the 5 paramount totem elite warriors, Qin Wushuang and the others had already started to carry out a purging operation inside the god-discarding maze. Soon, they found the source of the problem. A giant hole had appeared at the place where these divine souls had escaped. Around this hole, there were messy talisman seals left after the seal had been broken. The scattered airflow was still incredibly cold and made one feel extremely uncomfortable when it blew on one's face like a fierce wind. Clearly, this place was a formation that sealed the divine souls of the foreign tribes. Currently, this formation was opened by someone using the method of blood sacrifice. Apart from a stench of blood, the perpetrator's soul had clearly been destroyed. Qin Wushuang was inwardly shocked. This outsider spy was actually so decisive, willing to sacrifice his own life to open the spell formation. Wushuang, how is it? Wang Chan hurried over a step later. He frowned slightly when he saw this situation. Clearly, he was extremely worried about this situation. Qin Wushuang forced a smile and asked, Sect Master Wang Chan, what's the current situation of the god discarding maze? Most of the personnel are gathered together. Apart from those who met with misfortune in the maze and those who were killed by those souls, there are only 27 people left. 50 people had entered, but only 27 were left. What kind of concept was that? Qin Wushuang felt a bitter taste in his mouth. Such a high mortality rate? More than a dozen were killed by these spirits. Wang Chan's tone was very serious when he mentioned this. Obviously, he knew that the situation was serious. Have all the souls in the cave been cleared? Wang Chan shook his head. No one knows how many godly souls are hidden in the god-discarding maze. However, we have already organized an all-out search. Qin Wushuang nodded. Besides you 5 paramount elite warriors, let the others go out. If they stay here, it will be useless unless they provide bodies for those souls. These escaped souls were at least at the 6th or 7th calamity of the genuine supreme Tao stage. Or else, they would not have been qualified to be sealed here. In the immemorial era, those at the 6th or 7th calamity of the genuine supreme Tao stage were small fish and shrimps in the great war of the gods. However, in the current era, it was possible for them to become a great disaster. With the unified dispatch of the totem powerhouses, the speed was fast. For the remaining 27 people, besides the 5 paramount totem elite warriors and Qin Wushuang, the remaining 22 people had all gathered together. Since Bao Bao and the others had kept a low profile and were far away from the core of the dispute, they did not encounter any mishaps. At this time, Wang Chan no longer held back. Everyone, the incident happened suddenly. Now, we will count who died in the dispute and who were killed by those divine souls. Who were the missing people? To put it bluntly, these 50 people were all related to each other. It was easy to investigate. Soon, the results came out. Besides those 8 who had encountered mishaps while exploring the maze. For the other 15, 7 had died on the spot, and there were corpses as proof. As for the other 8, their whereabouts were unknown. Wang Chan said with a deep tone, These 8 people are the root of the disaster. Qin Wushuang shook his head. It's 7. Oh, Qin Wushuang explained. That ceiling formation would not have collapsed for no reason. Someone must have used the method of blood sacrifice to destroy that formation. That person died on the spot, and not even his bones remained. That person must be a spy from the foreign tribes. Wang Chan was speechless and nodded. This way, In this mountain cave, there are at least 7 elite warriors of the foreign tribes with corporeal bodies that have not been found. Yes, there are only 7 of them. Qin Wushuang said, Chief Wang Chan, please ask these people to leave the God-discarding maze. Do not give the enemy any more opportunities. Wang Chan nodded and said loudly, Everyone listen well. Besides the paramount elite warriors, all of you must leave the God-discarding maze. When you are outside, listen to Li Bai's orders. The way out was rather familiar. Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan were in charge of sending them to the exit. However, they discovered that Li Bai was no longer outside the God-discarding door. Instead, it was Xiao Yixuan and Li Yifeng, these 2 great elite warriors. These 2 guarded the God-discarding door. Each person that came out must go through their strict inspection. They would only let them go after making sure they were not possessed by a divine soul. Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan knew that the first group of divine souls that did not cause trouble in the God-discarding maze had already escaped. Inwardly, they felt somewhat ashamed. Regardless, they had failed their mission. Xiao Yixuan remained expressionless and did not say anything. When Li Yifeng saw Qin Wushuang's somewhat depressed expression, he comforted him. Wushuang, don't be depressed. For such sudden matters, it's not something you and I can control. No matter how much Brother Bai calculated, he still could not figure out everyone's details. Before outsiders, of course they would not call Li Bai's senior brother. Qin Wushuang sent his voice to Li Yifeng and the others, second senior brother, third senior brother, that Yin Hong is already under my control. However, she is just a chess piece to confuse the situation and not a core figure. I suggest not to touch her for now. In the future, she will be useful when dealing with Queen Mother Golden Crow. The 9-changed celestial tiger was on the list of the 8 missing people. Without a doubt, the 9-changed celestial tiger's body must have been taken away. Perhaps his physical body had not been taken away from him at all. Instead, he had offered up his physical body on his own accord. Yin Hong came out safe and sound. After being controlled by Qin Wushuang, she did not show any special traits. Chief Wang Chan, Chief Qin, inside the God-discarding maze, you will have to work harder. 7 of the first batch that escaped were killed by us. 16 of them escaped. Brother Bai has already organized people to go after them. There should be some remaining evil among them, right? Although there are not as many as the first group, there are still many divine souls lingering inside the God-discarding maze. Remember, we must eliminate the remaining foreign tribes at their roots. The more that escape, the greater the future trouble. Xiao Yixuan instructed carefully. Once again, Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan returned to the God-discarding maze. Although Bao Bao and Lone were extremely courageous, they would not dare to say they would follow them. They also knew that this matter was of great importance, and it was not the time for them to cause trouble. Along the way, Wang Chan was laden with worries. Clearly, he was incredibly curious about the identity of Xiao Yixuan and Li Yifeng. He could not refrain from asking, Wushuang, are those 2 also controllers? At this moment, Qin Wushuang did not deliberately play deep as he said, Yes, they are with Brother Li Bai. They are all controllers at the peak of the Tianxian land. When Wang Chan heard these words, he smacked his tongue inwardly. Indeed, it was the case. When he saw Xiao Yixuan and Li Yifeng's calm temperament, he could not refrain from feeling a sense of reverence, as if he was looking up to a high mountain. At this moment, Wang Chan was already an elite warrior at the Heavenly Supreme Dao stage. Although he had yet to pass the calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Dao stage, he was no longer at the peak of the genuine Supreme Dao stage. However, when he looked at those 2, he still felt he could not see through them. Without a doubt, the strength of those 2 was above his own. Upon hearing the words of Qin Wushuang, Wang Chan felt slightly reassured inwardly. He gave a long sigh. When I saw the actions of Brother Bai, I realized that the so-called totem powerhouse is truly shallow. All along, I have listened to Brother Bai's instructions. Those people only obey on the surface, but oppose on the inside. They do not listen to Brother Bai's words. If it weren't for Brother Bai's magnanimity, I am afraid there would not be any totem powerhouses in this world, right? This was not him belittling himself. After witnessing Li Bai's methods, Wang Chan already completely understood how terrifying this mysterious Li Bai was. Qin Wushuang laughed. In the end, the totem powerhouses are the most powerful powerhouses in the Tianxian land. When dealing with the foreign tribes, the totem powerhouses must participate, or else it would be useless to rely on just them. How many of them? Wang Chan blinked his eyes. Just how many of them are there? 7. The heavenly mysterious 7 disciples. Wang Chan was overjoyed. 7? All of them are elite warriors at the heavenly supreme Dao stage? Upon seeing Qin Wushuang nodding to give an affirmative answer, Wang Chan was overjoyed. Great, this is great. I have always been worried that our Tianxian land is too weak and has too few elite warriors. Now it seems that heavenly supreme Dao elite warriors are not as few as I thought. For the battle with the foreign tribes, I do have some confidence. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang smiled bitterly. He liked Wang Chan's confident tone. It would not be appropriate to pour cold water on him. If Wang Chan knew how terrifying the enemy was, it would be unknown whether he could still be this optimistic. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 9:15. Wang Chan and Qin Wushuang returned to the god-discarding labyrinth. Their moods were completely different from the first time they entered. The last time they entered with longing and hope. But this time, they were suppressing a strong sense of depression in their hearts. They absolutely could not allow these spirits to completely refine their physical bodies in the cave. Otherwise, the spirits that obtained physical bodies would be extremely terrifying. Qin Wushuang, Wang Chan, and the others knew this principle well. According to their speculations, the first batch of spirits that escaped would definitely be more powerful. Otherwise, they would not be able to seize the opportunity. And the second batch of spirits that did not manage to escape from the god-discarding labyrinth would be relatively weaker. But without a doubt, there would definitely be spirits from the Heavenly Supreme Path sect. The only good news was that the spirits of the Heavenly Supreme Path sect had been sealed all this time and were definitely in a very weak state. And without a physical body, their combat power would be greatly reduced. After meeting up with the other 4 supreme totem elites, Golden Ray Dragon King asked, "Did the others leave safely?" They all left. Wang Chan nodded. "How was your harvest?" "I've killed 5 divine souls, but I don't know how many of them managed to escape. It's quite difficult, especially those spirits that obtained physical bodies. We have to find them first. Otherwise, there will be endless troubles. Once they find the cave abodes left behind by the immemorial gods and obtain the opportunity to enter the Galaxy Tower of Babel, it will be even more terrifying." This was a problem that they had to guard against. Qin Wushuang nodded. Someone must go to the Galaxy Tower of Babel to guard it. This time, everyone's gaze was surprisingly unanimous. They all looked towards Golden Ray Dragon King. Golden Ray Dragon King was definitely the most suitable person to guard it. His Golden Ray Divine ability had a very large defensive area and was most suitable for this heavy responsibility. Golden Ray Dragon King was not pretentious. "Everyone, I'll go. Here, I'll leave it to you." Without saying anything superfluous, Golden Ray Dragon King turned into golden light and rushed towards the 12-layered labyrinth. Guarding the Galaxy Tower of Babel to the death and not letting these spirits get close to the galaxy boundary was the absolute principle. Otherwise, these spirits would attack the galaxy boundary together. Once the galaxy boundary was broken, it would be the most fatal. Qin Wushuang had obviously thought of this long ago. "Everyone, we have to move faster." Once these divine souls knew the location of the starry river boundary, they would definitely swarm over. If they managed to break through the celestial river barrier, it would be troublesome. The other 4 totem warriors' complexions changed slightly as they nodded their heads in agreement. "Everyone, I suggest that we start a carpet search from the 12th maze. With the area covered by the 5 of us, We can completely search without any gaps. Those souls may be stronger than us, but they have just broken free from the seal. Without a few months to recover, it will be very difficult for them to do anything. In order to refine their physical bodies to the same level as their divine souls, it would take at least a few hundred years. So, don't be too pessimistic. This was the proposal of Jiang Ming of the Shinnong clan. Shi and Yuan Yang agreed. Fellow Taoist Jiang Ming's suggestion is good. Starting from the 12th layer of the labyrinth, we can keep them away from the Starry River barrier. At the critical moment, these supreme totem warriors were not stupid, and they could all understand the importance of the matter. At this time, internal strife, estrangement, and disputes were no longer important. There was only one important thing. In order to survive, they must eliminate all foreign enemies. Wang Chan and Kong Mingzi looked at Qin Wushuang. They wanted to see what good ideas Qin Wushuang had. Qin Wushuang thought for a moment. I think this proposal is very reasonable. However, during the search, we can't be too fast. We must be careful and meticulous. There can't be any fish that escapes the net. One fish that escapes the net is one more threat to the Starry River barrier. Everyone nodded. At this time, they were clear that ensuring the safety of the Starry River barrier was the first priority. Only the safety of the Starry River barrier was the biggest foundation. If something happened to the Starry River barrier, all their efforts would be in vain and become meaningless. Now, there was no chance of winning in a head-on confrontation with the foreign race. The only outcome was extinction. The only problem now was how many godly souls escaped from the second batch, and how strong was the strongest one among these godly souls. If this problem was not solved, it would bring countless troubles to their operation. This kind of net-like search was indeed very effective. The 5 of them started a carpet search from the 12th layer of the labyrinth. In half a day, they killed 2 godly souls. These 2 godly souls were both peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage. To any of them, they were no threat. Obviously, these godly souls had a connection with each other. Once this kind of search started, the other godly souls were immediately alarmed. They saw through their intentions and began to disperse, using guerrilla tactics. Their goal was very clear. They wanted to split their net-like search and destroy them one by one. Without a doubt, the number of godly souls that escaped from the second batch was probably more than the first. However, in terms of strength, they were indeed weaker than the first batch. These godly souls were all old monsters from tens of thousands of years ago. They were all cunning people. Once they saw through the tactics of Qin Wushuang and the others, they immediately took measures. They sent out 6 or 7 godly souls that were good at escaping and hiding. All of them were first calamity of the heavenly, supreme Tao stage. In the 12th layer of the labyrinth, they played hide-and-seek with Qin Wushuang and the others. This kind of tactic immediately curbed the tactics of Qin Wushuang and the others. The godly souls of the 5 of them were strong enough to cover a layer of the labyrinth. However, searching with godly souls and killing the opponent were 2 completely different things. In this case, with the strength of the 5 of them, once they dispersed, their advantage would be gone. Instead, it would give the enemy a numerical advantage. Once the 5 of them were always united, the other godly souls might discover the location of the Starry River enchantment boundary, thus posing a threat to the Golden Ray Dragon King. The Golden Ray Dragon King was the only obstacle to the Starry River enchantment boundary. Once the Golden Ray Dragon King was attacked, the Starry River enchantment boundary was in danger of being attacked by the enemy at any time. This kind of threat was absolutely fatal. In a hidden place in the 9th layer of the labyrinth, nearly 20 godly souls gathered together. "Is everyone here?" One of the strong, godly souls asked in a superior manner. This person had occupied the physical body of a totem expert of the Fire God clan. He had already killed the godly soul of the expert of the Fire God clan and seized the body. This physical body was at the 6th calamity of the genuine, supreme Tao stage. It was also the strongest physical body that they had seized. This godly soul was obviously the strongest among the group of godly souls. He was at the third calamity of the heavenly, supreme Tao stage. Among the group of godly souls, he was also the undisputed leader. This person was called Niao. Although Niao did not refine this physical body, it was better to have a physical body than not having one. His every movement carried the domineering aura of a king. On both sides of him, there were 6 godly souls that had seized physical bodies. One of them was the physical body of the 9-change celestial tiger. The other 5 were all experts from different places. All of them had the cultivation of the genuine, supreme Tao stage. This group of 7 was obviously the best among the group of godly souls. The other 6 were at the second calamity of the genuine, supreme Tao stage. Niao was the leader. Serene, a total of 32 people escaped from our group. 23 elite warriors escaped from the previous group. Serene Long is the leader. A total of 55 people, all of them escaped without missing a single one. However, 8 of our brothers were killed by them. Besides the 6 brothers that carried out the mission, the other 18 people are all here. Yes, that Sir Niao was high-spirited and vigorous as he swept across everyone with his cold gaze. I already went to the outside to observe. Now, there are already people guarding the entrance of the cave. If we charge out, there will be a lot of casualties. The 2 guardians at the entrance of the cave are more difficult to deal with than these guys inside. Therefore, we must refine our fleshly bodies here and unleash our full strength. Only then can we lead our brothers to charge out. As long as we charge out of this place, we will be free. By that time, this Tianxian land will be our world. These elite warriors have been sealed for tens and thousands of years. Their desire for freedom had reached an abnormal level. Upon hearing these words, each of them revealed a fanatical look. Sir Niao, one of his subordinates next to him, moved his mouth as if he had something to say. Ming, what do you want to say? Ming was also one of the elite warriors that possessed a body. He said carefully, Sir Niao, Sir Long, and the others have escaped. Certainly they will come to help us. I feel that there is no need to rush to get out. This god-discarding maze is a secret nest of the Tianxian land. Isn't it related to the soaring of Galaxia barrier? I feel that if we can find the soaring of Galaxia barrier, it will be a great achievement. When we return to the Fengyan land, the 2 master gods will certainly bestow us with heavenly god bodies. These words did remind that Sir Niao. With flickering eyes, he nodded lightly. Clearly, he was thinking about this problem. Ming, your words make sense. I was wondering why those despicable guys were so strange. We will start searching from the 12th maze. It seems that the soaring of Galaxia barrier must be somewhere in the 12th maze. Niao was not a brainless person. On the contrary, he was shrewd and scheming. He was an exceptional leader. Considering the overall situation, he had grasped some clues. Ming nodded. Yes, for them to be this nervous, they must be worried about the soaring of Galaxia barrier. Or else, they could have sealed the outside of the god-discarding door and none of US could get out. Wouldn't that solve the problem once and for all? The other divine souls of the foreign tribes all agreed. Clearly, they agreed with Ming's analysis. Niao's expression was uncertain. Clearly, he was thinking about something. Ming did not make a sound. He knew that the leader was thinking of a countermeasure. Although they knew the soaring of Galaxia barrier was here, everyone was just a divine soul that had just escaped. They had not even recovered half of their combat power. It would not be a wise choice to confront those elite warriors rashly. Today, to make up for yesterday's lack of chapters, there will be 5 chapters. Since it's to make up for yesterday's lack, Old Bull will not shout the unkind slogan of 5 chapters exploding. It's just a supplement, it's not exploding. Only, I will ask you to wait patiently. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 9:16. The scene was strangely quiet. Everyone was waiting for Master Nio's decision. The alien races were very particular about discipline, and their leaders had absolute authority. Nio didn't say anything. He didn't let them give their opinions, so they didn't dare to say anything. After a long time, Nio's gaze became complicated. He glanced at everyone and asked, "I want to hear your opinions. Meng, you go first." Meng was the one who proposed the Milky Way boundary formation, so it was understandable for him to speak first. Swallowing his saliva, Meng said carefully, "Sir, according to the information and my cold observation, indeed there are still elite warriors of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage in this Tianxian land. It's not like what we understood, where all the elite warriors of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage went to the soaring of Galaxia boundary. Yes, there are definitely Heavenly Supreme Tao experts. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so easy to kill our brothers." Nio agreed with his point of view. But the Starry River Formation is a self-sealing formation. Once it was formed, the passageway to communicate with the universe would be sealed. How could there be any Heavenly Supreme Tao elite warriors? Could it be an elite of the Heavenly Supreme Tao from the immemorial age? Meng's mind was very meticulous. Humph, it doesn't matter whether it is the divine path of the primitive age or not, right? An expert next to Meng said, "It's very important. If it's the divine Tao of the archaic era, then it's even more terrifying, because they know our background and know how to deal with us." Looking at them, they didn't seem like they were left behind from ancient times. That's why I found it all the more suspicious. How did they cultivate to the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage? Meng's question reminded Lord Nio. Nio's eyes suddenly lit up. Meng, do you mean that there are other channels to communicate with the universe and the human countries? Meng smiled bitterly. Your Excellency, it's hard to make a conclusion about this issue. But he had to figure it out. Could it be related to the Starry River Barrier? Nio nodded. In the end, it's still the Milky Way enchantment. It seems that we have to figure out what this Starry River boundary formation is. At this point, Nio already had an idea. Let's not clash head-on with them for the time being to avoid excessive casualties. Right now, they clearly didn't have enough manpower. It's true that we have a lot of people, but our souls aren't stable. It'll take us at least 3 to 5 years to get out of this seal. It will take us at least 100 years to fuse with this body. Nio said, "Let's just waste time with them. After 100 years, I believe Long and the others will definitely come back to help us. By that time, we will cooperate from the inside and outside and defeat these elite warriors of the Tianxian land with the least loss." My lord is wise. To be honest, these elite warriors did not want to clash head-on with the elite warriors of the Tianxian land. It was not that they were afraid, but they felt that it was unnecessary. Now that he had just escaped from the seal, he couldn't even use half of his strength. If he were to fight head-on, wouldn't that be courting death? Even if Lord Nio was a third tribulation Heavenly Supreme Tao expert, he would at most be able to fight against a first tribulation Heavenly Supreme Tao expert. But if they were given a few years to recover, the situation would be completely different. Therefore, their most urgent task was not to kill a few elite warriors of the Tianxian land, but to buy time to recover their strength. Although they didn't have a physical body to capture at the moment, if their souls could recover to 100%, it would be an additional layer of protection. Meng, tell the 6 brothers not to fight them head-on and pay attention to tactics. The longer we delay them, the better. At the same time, ask them to search around. If they find any traces of the soaring of Galaxia barrier, report it immediately. We will send more people to attack the soaring of Galaxia barrier. In that case, they will lose sight of one thing and lose sight of the other. We'll have even more time. No wonder Nio was a leader. Soon, he grasped the core problem. When Meng received the order, he said happily, "Yes, my lord." The 6 godly souls were carefully selected by Nio. There were also experts who were best at escaping and concealing. These guys only had one principle. They would never clash head-on with Qin Wushuang and his friends. They would use all methods to deal with Qin Wushuang and his friends. They would attract their attention. After receiving Ni Meng's order, they became more determined and started to search consciously. This way, Qin Wushuang's carpet search tactic was immediately declared ineffective. The other party's countermeasure was to scatter and escape. They would attract their attention and prevent the 5 of them from forming an organic whole. They would cut them apart as a whole. Kong Mingzi murmured and cursed. These guys are indeed cunning. It seems that the immemorial era was not some kind people. It's not strange. These guys are all old monsters from tens of thousands of years ago. Which one of them is not more cunning than us? In my opinion, we need to make a new plan, or else it will be very troublesome. Jiang Ming smiled bitterly. He was the one who suggested the carpet search idea. Initially, he thought it was flawless. Now that the enemy's tactic had changed, their hands and feet were tied. They seemed to be a loss. It seemed that in front of those cunning, non-humankind beings, they were indeed very inexperienced. In the Tianxian land, they had always been at the top. Now, when they met a true elite warrior, they suddenly realized that there was always someone better than them. Wang Chan pursed his lips and did not speak. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows. Everyone, each of these foreign race monsters are old guys. Do you think they can guess the soaring of Galaxia barrier? Xian Yuan Yang's expression changed. It's not impossible. Kong Mingzi swore. These monsters are extremely cunning. It's not difficult for them to guess this point. Everyone looked at Qin Wushuang when they saw him pondering in silence. Clearly, they wanted to hear Qin Wushuang's opinion. Now, everyone was used to putting Qin Wushuang in the same position as them. They were willing to listen to Qin Wushuang's opinion on anything. Everyone, the situation is grim. Certainly, they know about the soaring of Galaxia barrier. It's not difficult to guess that it's in the 12-layered maze. Why do we have to start searching from the 12th maze? This was the exact opposite of what was expected. To them, this abnormality must be abrupt. Therefore, it's not difficult to guess where the soaring of Galaxia barrier is. Those foreign races came from the immemorial era and would not be unfamiliar with the soaring of Galaxia barrier. Fortunately, the outside world cannot communicate with the inside of the god discarding maze. Or else, when the first batch of divine souls escaped back, it would be even more troublesome. Clearly, the gods had considered these problems when they opened the god discarding maze. Therefore, they blocked all channels of divine consciousness communication. If they wanted to communicate, they could do so in the god discarding maze. However, there is absolutely no way to form any communication between the inside and outside of the god discarding door. We have to think of a way. We can't afford to waste time. If we continue to wait like this, we'll be giving them time to cultivate. We won't benefit at all. Jiang Ming sounded the alarm. Qin Wushuang suddenly said, "Everyone, what motives do you think these divine souls have for staying here? It must be that the cave entrance has been blocked and they can't get out? Maybe they just want to stay here to find the soaring of Galaxia barrier. There must be other motives. Could it be that they want to excavate the cave dwelling of the gods?" Qin Wushuang kept nodding. Suddenly, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Everyone, many divine souls escaped. However, only 7 of them obtained a physical body. These 7 people must be the core figures. As for the other subordinates, what do they desire the most now? What? Freedom? Kong Mingzi asked subconsciously. No, freedom. With their strength, they must be very confident in it. Now, what they need the most is not freedom, but physical bodies. Yes. Jiang Ming nodded. Physical bodies. They really need physical bodies the most. That's right. If they need physical bodies, we'll give them physical bodies. Qin Wushuang suddenly laughed. Everyone, it seems that my puppets can be put to use. Let them be the bait to attract these bastards who play hide and seek. What do you think? When Qin Wushuang said this, the other 4 were overjoyed. Yes. Wang Chan's eyes suddenly shone with joy. Xian Yuanyang also laughed. This idea is not bad. I think we'll do it this way. With physical bodies in front of them, how can they not be tempted? Then we'll ambush them from all sides. Ha! Kong Mingzi also laughed proudly. Qin Wushuang shook his head. No, Lord Yang, fellow Kong Mingzi, and fellow Jiangming, the three of you will go to the soaring of Galaxia barrier to guard. Meet up with Golden Ray Dragon King. You can form a group of two. Two of you will be on guard, and two of you will enter the soaring of Galaxia Tower to cultivate. Seize all the time to cultivate. We'll go cultivate, although this suggestion was a great advantage for them. But at this critical moment, they all felt that it was too unkind to do so. Everyone, this method of using physical bodies to attract the bait is not rare. We don't need too many people at all. To be honest, fellow Wang Chan and I are enough. Wang Chan nodded. Everyone, we're all in the same boat now. Don't be pretentious. If you feel sorry, you can take turns to come out at that time. Now, we're all Heavenly Supreme Tao experts. We can start refining the Heavenly Supreme Tao weapons we got in the cave abode. This is the right way. With Heavenly Supreme Tao weapons, it will be easier to fight the enemy. The other three nodded subconsciously. Don't hesitate. Let's split up. Qin Wushuang said decisively. Fellow Wang Chan, let's split up. I'll lend you a puppet doppelganger. In addition to the 9 golem puppets, to cultivate the 9 palaces return to one sword formation, Qin Wushuang also had 2 spare golem puppets. They were both doppelganger of the Heavenly Supreme Tao. As bait, they were definitely enough. Wang Chan was not pretentious. He smiled and said, Okay, let's split up. Don't be too far away. We could take care of each other. Wang Chan was now very clear that Qin Wushuang had inherited the immemorial formation. In the future, when they fought against the foreign tribes, he would definitely become one of the main characters. Therefore, protecting Qin Wushuang was also one of his duties now. Of course, Qin Wushuang was very powerful. Although they had broken through to the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, Wang Chan was actually not sure whether they could defeat Qin Wushuang. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 9:17. After Qin Wushuang separated from Wang Chan, he found a relatively secluded place and released the 9 golem puppets. These 9 golem puppets followed Qin Wushuang to cultivate. As Qin Wushuang's strength increased, their puppets' realms were also constantly improving. Now, these puppets, in terms of physical strength, were close to the strength of the 7th Tribulation Transformation Supreme Tao Realm. Their individual cultivation was also hovering between the 7th and 8th Tribulation Transformation Supreme Tao Realm. One advantage of puppets was that they did not have a divine Tao Heavenly Tribulation. However, without a divine Tao Heavenly Tribulation, the disadvantage was also obvious. Compared to cultivators of the same level, their individual battle prowess was definitely far inferior to cultivators of the same level. Moreover, without the deliberate nurturing of their master, their potential was limited. It was impossible for them to climb mountains endlessly like human cultivators. However, the distribution of these 9 golem puppets was clearly arranged according to the posture of a 9-palace return to one sword formation. Unless one understood this formation, one would not be able to see the mystery inside. On the other hand, Qin Wushuang hid in the dark and weakened himself completely. Of course, he did not deliberately hide anything. He knew that there were very powerful existences among those souls. It would be difficult for him to completely hide in front of those powerful souls. Therefore, he did not pretend to be pretentious. Instead, he let nature take its course and cultivated there. It gave people the feeling that he had always been here. Qin Wushuang was very patient and was not in a hurry. He knew that this kind of seduction tactic could only succeed and could not fail. Once it failed, these souls would communicate with each other and the plan would be useless. If he wanted this kind of fishing tactic to maintain its eternal vitality, he absolutely could not let the other party see through this plan. Otherwise, this plan would not work after only one use. In other words, he could either kill in one strike or not make a move at all. It was obviously the same on Wang Chan's side. Speaking of which, Wang Chan's side was more difficult than Qin Wushuang's. After all, Wang Chan was completely relying on that puppet as bait. On Qin Wushuang's side, the puppet was used as bait, and he himself was a hired thug. Once the 9 palaces returned to one sword formation was activated, even if a few spirits were to barge in, they would be killed in one fell swoop. Cunning alien race, bring it on. Qin Wushuang murmured in his heart. 3 days later, not a single fish took the bait. However, Qin Wushuang was not depressed. On the contrary, he was rather excited. That was because in the past 3 days, no fish had taken the bait. However, some fish had come to pry. Clearly, the outsiders were very cunning and cautious. They didn't rush over in a hurry, but carefully observed the situation. It was obvious that they were trying to eliminate the enemy. Qin Wushuang was very patient. In a corner about 200 miles away from Qin Wushuang, 3 divine souls gathered together. These 3 alien divine souls were 3 of the 6 divine souls that were responsible for attracting the attention of the others. Old Gao, why did you ask us to come here? Yes, Old Gao, Lord and I Meng wants us to act separately. If we gather together, we will violate his order. That Old Gao said with a smile, Brothers, we have been brothers for tens of thousands of years. I won't stand on ceremony with you. You see, I only asked the 2 of you to come here, but I didn't inform the other 3. I just trust you. Hearing Old Gao's words, the other 2 were silent. They knew that Old Gao must have done so for a reason. Old Gao said with a mysterious smile, Brothers, what do you think we need most at the moment? What? The Starry River Boundary Formation? Bullshit, the Starry River Boundary Formation. Even if we find it, can we really destroy it with just the 3 of us? We're not cut out for that. To put it bluntly, we are just pawns. Lord and I Meng didn't send anyone else but us. To put it nicely, we are covering for them. To put it bluntly, we are just scapegoats. If we have to die, we will definitely die first. What he said was not false at all. The other 2 were also helpless. We have no choice, Old Gao. Lord and I Meng is our leader. It's natural for us to follow his orders. Do you think we can still resist? Old Gao shook his head. I've thought about it. Lord and I Meng sent us to be the vanguard because he thinks we are the least valuable. If we improve our strength and have enough influence on Lord and I Meng, will he still let us be the vanguard? Old Gao, what are you trying to say? Let's get this over with. There are no outsiders here. We are all brothers. The other guy shouted. I mean, there's a very good opportunity to improve our strength and increase our status. Do you dare try it? Old Gao stopped keeping them in suspense and said directly, Old Gao, what opportunity? Yes, tell me in detail. Old Gao said with a smile, I found a group of cultivators in a hidden place. They seem to be in closed-door training. This is a good opportunity for us to seize the physical body. A group of cultivators. How many of them? 9, a total of 9. Old Gao said with certainty. So many? Yes. I have observed them for 3 days. Old Wang, are you interested? Do you have the guts? Old Gao tried to provoke them. The 2 people's breathing obviously became rapid. It would be a lie to say that they were not tempted by the physical body in front of them. However, Old Gao's tone obviously hinted that all of this might be risky. Old Gao, frankly speaking, how high do you think our chances of success are? Old Du asked. Old Gao shook his head. I don't know. But I can be sure that these 9 cultivators are not a threat to us. The 9 of them together can't do anything to any of us. Old Gao, don't forget that our current fighting strength is at most similar to the peak of the genuine supreme Dao stage. Old Wang reminded. Old Wang, of course I know this. So, we must obtain the physical body. Only by obtaining the physical body can we occupy the leading position in the team. Even Lord and I Meng has to show some respect to us. The status of these escaped souls was obviously different from those who didn't have a physical body. With physical bodies, their strength was obviously incomparable to those without. 9 cultivators. What is their cultivation level? Old Du also asked. They are definitely not at the genuine supreme Dao stage. There is still some distance away from the genuine supreme Dao stage. I don't dare to float too close to observe. I'm afraid of being discovered by them. If they are not at the genuine Supreme Tao stage, then it's easy. Old Du shouted. However, Old Wang said, "Do you think this is a trap?" Old Gao said unhappily, "Whether it is a trap or not, I have investigated very clearly. Within 1,000 miles, those guys who are chasing after us are definitely not there. We can snatch those physical bodies in a breath. What are you worried about?" Old Wang and Old Du nodded. If those pursuers are not nearby, then there is nothing to worry about. 1,000 miles is enough for us to deal with them. Huh. Old Gao, lead the way. On the fourth day, Qin Wushuang's mind moved slightly, and he smiled knowingly. They are here, they are finally here. It seems that there is more than one of them. It seems that these foreign race monsters are indeed cunning. 3. Qin Wushuang still thought that they were too few. It would be best if there were 5 or 6 of them. Once these spirits were surrounded by the 9 palaces returned to one sword formation, Qin Wushuang would kill them with one arrow. He would not be polite at all. The 9 of you, pay attention. Stay calm. The enemies are approaching. Before they enter the attack range, don't act rashly. These puppets were easy to control. They were all under Qin Wushuang's control. Since Qin Wushuang instructed, these golem puppets naturally would not do anything out of line. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 spirits did not disperse. Carrying that kind of meteor-like momentum, they landed in the surroundings and flew in 3 directions, forming 3 whirlpool-like countercurrents that rolled back and forth. Obviously, they wanted to set off a huge countercurrent to sweep away these 9 golem puppets. The moment their spirits approached, the 9 golem puppets suddenly moved at the same time. The 9 palaces' return to one sword formation was suddenly activated, and the positions of the 9 palaces formed one. The sword formation was activated, and 9 sword lights intertwined, forming a sword light vortex. It was as magnificent as a dazzling galaxy and directly swept over. The ball of light formed by the 9 sword lights actually swallowed the 3 countercurrent vortexes directly. The 3 spirits immediately rushed over. Their surroundings were like stormy waves. It was as if the area was boiling all of a sudden, like huge waves that were tens of thousands of feet high were constantly rising. Only then did the 3 spirits know that they had indeed stepped into a trap. Old Du cried out, "Old Gao, you've killed us." The magical power of the 9 palaces returned to one sword formation was that it could each exert the power of 9 people 81 times. This 81 times power was multiplied by 9. It was equivalent to 1,000 times power. Once 1,000 times power was formed, that kind of power was definitely at the level of heaven collapsing and earth destroying. As soon as the vortex formed, the 3 of them immediately rushed over. A powerful airflow wrapped around them, making their bodies feel as if they were tied up, and their movements were immediately hindered. Charge out with all your strength. At this moment, Old Wang was the calmest. Don't split up. We have to charge out together. If we split up, only death awaits us. Old Wang could see that this magical sword formation strengthened the opponent's power. Relying on their individual strength alone, it was impossible to resist the powerful airflow. Only if the 3 of them worked together, there was a glimmer of hope. At this moment, Qin Wushuang's figure suddenly rushed out. He smiled faintly, and his voice was like a steel needle piercing in. "Since you're here, why leave?" The graceful spiritual bow was activated, and 3 shooting sun arrows shot towards the core of the sword formation with the power to destroy the heavens and earth. For long-range attacks, the graceful spiritual bow was still the best choice. With the encirclement of the 9 palaces returned to one sword formation and the shocking power of the graceful spiritual bow, the spirits of the heavenly supreme Tao stage experts would at most be on par with those at the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage when they had not even recovered half of their strength. In this way, the result could be imagined. With the power to destroy everything, the shooting sun arrows rushed into the vortex. With a loud bang, they turned into 3 powerful explosions of golden light and directly blasted the 3 spirits into dregs. They did not even have the time to cry out. With a swing of the golden light, The surroundings became clear, and there was no longer any trace of the spirits. The most miraculous thing was that the surrounding environment did not suffer much damage under such a battle. It could be seen how much effort was spent on the construction of this god-discarding labyrinth. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 9:18. The plan was a success as they killed 3 divine souls and greatly weakened the enemy's harassment power. Qin Wushuang restored the battlefield and did not linger. He left quietly. He knew that regardless of the result, killing 3 of the enemy's divine souls would certainly raise a high level of vigilance. However, as long as this plan to lure the enemy was not seen through, there would always be people who coveted the corporeal body and would fall into this trap. However, the difficulty would be greater each time. Now, Qin Wushuang had no time to consider the problem of difficulty. If he could kill 1 divine soul, he would earn 1. Clearly, the combat power of those 3 divine souls had reached the peak of the genuine supreme Dao stage. According to Qin Wushuang's analysis, for sure these 3 divine souls were at the heavenly supreme Dao stage. Divine souls did not have corporeal bodies. Plus, they had just come out of the seal and had yet to recover completely. Despite this fact, they still had combat power at the peak of the genuine supreme Dao stage. Such enemies were terrifying. If they were allowed to recover to their peak state, the Tianxian land would be in great danger. Upon thinking of the 20 or so divine souls that escaped in the first batch, which were even more powerful, Qin Wushuang felt a burst of irritation. Up to this point, he still could not figure out who the spy that used the blood sacrifice method to break the seal was. However, clearly this was not important at the moment. Now, the most important thing was to investigate how many divine souls the enemy had in this god-discarding maze. At this moment, Wang Chan sent a report of success. They had successfully killed a divine soul. After the 2 of them met up and discussed, Wang Chan said, "Wushuang, according to my observation, this group of divine souls of the foreign races has obviously changed their strategy. They sent these wandering warriors to harass us. Their main force must have spread out to cultivate and recover their strength." In fact, Qin Wushuang already noticed this point. He nodded and said, "I think so too. Now the difficult problem is how many main forces they have and what level they are at." Wang Chan analyzed, "I don't think there will be too many, and there will not be anyone too powerful. Or else, with their overwhelming advantage, there is no need for them to hide and evade us. If they charge at us directly, we should be the ones running away." It was a reasonable analysis. On the contrary, the first batch of divine souls that escaped are much more powerful. I wonder how Daoist Brother Clothed and the others are doing. Wang Chan sighed. Qin Wushuang suddenly smiled and said, "Another fish has taken a bait." Qin Wushuang kept the 9 golem puppets outside, and sure enough, another divine soul was attracted. This divine soul was even more impatient than old Gao and the other 2. When it saw this kind of low-level cultivator, its curiosity was greatly aroused. Who would have thought that he would fall right into a trap? After Wang Chan and Qin Wushuang arrived, this guy could only be killed. 5. Haha, this plan is indeed good. We've killed 5 divine souls. Wushuang, it seems that this strategy is working. Qin Wushuang wasn't as optimistic. Daoist Brother Wang Chan, this is only the beginning. The enemy isn't vigilant enough. When they find out that their companions have disappeared for no reason, they won't be able to see through our plan, so they will be more careful. That is true. However, their thirst for physical bodies was sometimes irresistible even by reason. Unless it's those divine souls that have seized physical bodies. Wang Chan sighed with emotion. This time, my illusion Heavenly Lake has suffered a great loss. Especially the Amei immortal sect. It seems that the 9-change celestial tiger is a spy from the foreign tribes. Celestial Miao Yun of the Amei Daoist sect has also disappeared. Celestial Miao Yun. Suddenly, Qin Wushuang was moved inwardly. It seemed that inside his spiritual perception, there was a strange thought that was restless. Yet, he could not tell what it was exactly. Wushuang, what is it? Wang Chan asked curiously. Celestial Miao Yun. Celestial Miao Yun. Qin Wushuang grabbed his head and felt that something was wrong. Ah, speaking of this Miao Yun, initially she also had a one-sided love with my junior brother Jin Chan, too bad. Haha. What? A strange light shot out from Qin Wushuang's eyes. Wasn't this the same as that Yin Hong? Yes, yes. Qin Wushuang smiled bitterly. It must be her. It's Celestial Miao Yun. She is a spy, the biggest suspect that released the divine souls of these foreign tribes. Instantly, Wang Chan was stunned. Wushuang, this is not a joke. Qin Wushuang gave a long sigh. Yin Hong. Yin Hong. From the Qi clan of the Endless Eastern Sea. Did she have a relationship with Brother Jin Chan? How did you know? Wang Chan was somewhat surprised. It's like this. Qin Wushuang recounted Yin Hong's experience in full detail. Wang Chan was dumbstruck. This way, Celestial Miao Yun is a spy. She betrayed the Tian Xian land and willingly became a dog of the foreign tribes? Brother Wang Chan, in my opinion, perhaps this Celestial Miao Yun is in a worse situation than Yin Hong. For sure, someone has controlled her divine soul. Or else, I am afraid that Yin Hong would not have done something like destroying herself to break the seal. Wang Chan gave a long sigh. I am afraid that's the case. Whether it's Celestial Miao Yun or not, the truth will come to light when we excavate all the sea's corporeal bodies. If Celestial Miao Yun is not inside those corporeal bodies, then the person that died at the seal must be Celestial Miao Yun. Qin Wushuang waved his hand. Brother Wang Chan, the dead have already passed away. I suggest that we don't need to investigate this matter further. Or else, if we make a big fuss, it will not be good for the unity of the totem powerhouses. Of course, the Karakoram Immortal Sect must investigate the Amei Taoist sect in private. See if the other higher-ups of the Amei Taoist sect have fallen. Yes, Wang Chan was incredibly satisfied with Qin Wushuang's understanding. Clearly, Qin Wushuang was finding a way out for the illusion Heavenly Lake to avoid becoming the target of public criticism. When Qin Wushuang thought through the matter of Celestial Miao Yun, he still felt somewhat troubled. He always felt that he had not finished digging out the inspiration for this matter. In that instant, a few inspirations had emerged in his head. When facing the strange changes, his heartstrings had been stretched taut. Now, as he calmed down to think, he slapped his thigh with sudden realization and laughed. Brother Wang Chan, I am truly muddle-headed. I am riding a horse looking for a horse. Oh? How come you are riding a horse looking for a horse? Qin Wushuang roared with laughter. Speaking of which, I have good stuff on me that has always played a great role. Now, I have forgotten about it. As he spoke, he took out the Observant Finger Jade Plate. This object is called the Observant Finger Jade Plate. The divine soul of everyone that entered this God-discarding maze has been collected by this jade plate. Those 8 people that have gone missing. They are also included. Brother Wang Chan, please take a look. The others have already left the God-discarding door and are no longer displayed. Indeed, there are no traces of Celestial Miao Yun. Most likely, she is already dead. For the other 7 people, although their corporeal bodies were taken away, their divine souls must have been destroyed. However, their corporeal bodies were still there. The remaining divine soul chi in the corporeal bodies could not be completely eliminated in a short time. Therefore, the Observant Finger Jade Plate still has a display. Unless their corporeal bodies collapse, the remaining divine souls will not completely disappear. Wang Chan's eyes turned cold. So, you could determine the location of these corporeal bodies? That's right. According to my observations, they should be between the 7th and 9th levels of the maze. The specific location is too far away and cannot be determined. However, as long as we continue to get closer, we can definitely determine their location. Wang Chan was overjoyed. This is great. Then shouldn't we charge over and catch them off guard? Qin Wushuang shook his head. Even if we charge over, it will not be useful. We will not be able to kill them. In my opinion, we should call for reinforcements. Reinforcements? That's right. We must invite one of the two brothers from the outer area of the god discarding door to come in. Only then will we have the confidence to kill them. Otherwise, if the two of us encounter a truly powerful divine soul of the heavenly supreme Tao stage, we can at most protect ourselves. It will be very difficult to kill the enemy. Wang Chan thought about it and agreed. Even if they called Golden Ray Dragon King and the other three over, it would not be of any help. Only a true expert of the heavenly supreme Tao stage would be able to make the most of the difference. As experts who had just entered the heavenly supreme Tao stage, their killing power against the foreign races was limited. All right, let's go out and call for reinforcements. Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan contacted Golden Ray Dragon King and the others before flying out. If they did not find trouble with the foreign races would naturally not find trouble with Qin Wushuang and the others. After all, they did not have the confidence to deal with Qin Wushuang and Wang Chan. When they arrived at the entrance of the god discarding door, Miao Su had already returned. This way, 3 of the heavenly mystery 7 disciples were at the entrance of the god discarding door. Seeing Qin Wushuang and the others come out, Li Yifeng asked curiously, "Why did you come out?" Qin Wushuang explained the situation. Xiao Yishuan and Li Yifeng's expressions were grave. Li Yifeng said, "You two, come and take a look here." As he spoke, Li Yifeng took them to the place where the 9 keys of the god discarding door were. The 9 huge keys were emitting a dim light, as if they were on their last breaths, as if the sun was setting in the west. These 9 spiritual keys are already close to the limit of their spiritual qi consumption. This is also the reason why you only have 4 months to enter the god discarding door for each batch. Now that the time is almost up, without the support of Taoist Brother Linghui, the spiritual keys are already showing signs of exhaustion. Once the spiritual keys collapse, this god discarding door will never be opened. Li Yifeng said with an incredibly deep tone. "Is there no other way?" Qin Wushuang said with a bitter smile. "Yes, if Taoist Brother Linghui is here, he can use his supreme Tao power and burn it to provide spiritual qi. As long as no accidents occur, theoretically, it can continue to be consumed. However, to Taoist Brother Linghui, it will be a huge consumption." With 2 difficult choices, Li Bai was currently chasing after those divine souls that had escaped. If he were to return, and the other 3 chased after him, clearly they would have less people. 2 Taoist brothers, go in and kill those devilish foreign tribe disciples. "Leave this place to me," Miao Su volunteered. "My supreme Tao power is not as strong as Taoist Brother Linghui, but it will not be a problem to hold on for 3 or 5 months. When Taoist Brother Linghui returns, I will give it to him." Xiao Yishuan and Li Yifeng exchanged a glance and nodded at the same time. This seemed to be the only way at the moment. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 919. Once Xiao Yishuan and Li Yifeng entered the game, the situation would naturally change drastically. Xiao Yishuan would be in charge of blocking the outside, while Li Yifeng, Qin Wushuang, and Wang Chan would be in charge of hunting. This division of labor could ensure that those divine souls would escape. If there were too many of them, it would create a greater impact on the Miao Su on the outside. It would not be a good thing. The observant finger jade plate showed that the 7 supreme Tao elite warriors who had acquired the bodies did not gather together. Clearly, they had their own concerns. They were worried that if they gathered together, the movements would be too great and would be detected. However, no matter how they calculated, they did not expect the observant finger jade plate to see through the flaw of the body. Li Yifeng said, "Wang Chan, you will be in charge of luring away their eyes. I believe with your strength, it will not be a problem." Wang Chan knew that for this battle, the main force was this brotherly Yifeng before him, and not him. He nodded and left. After Wang Chan left, Li Yifeng asked Qin Wushuang, "Junior brother Wushuang, how do you plan to make a move?" Qin Wushuang laughed. "I thought about it. If we take the initiative to go to them and kill one or two, the others will certainly be alerted, and it will be much more difficult to hunt them down. We must do it cleanly and efficiently. Yes, time is tight. We must hurry. Let's go. We will make a move on this guy in the northwest direction." Li Yifeng was rather straightforward. However, Qin Wushuang shook his head. "Third senior brother, I have analyzed that among the bodies occupied by these 7 divine souls, the most powerful one is an elite warrior at the 6th calamity of the genuine supreme Tao stage from the Fire God clan. I am guessing that the one occupying the most powerful body must be the leader of this group of divine souls." Li Yifeng's eyes lit up. Capture the leader first? By killing the leader, the other divine souls would be like a group of dragons without a leader and certainly fall into chaos. This was a good suggestion. Immediately, Li Yifeng became enthusiastic. "Haha, junior brother Wushuang, since you can target the strongest leader, it would be useless no matter how good it is." Qin Wushuang laughed. "Third senior brother, follow behind me. I will use my body as bait. Certainly that guy will be tempted. By that time, when he is not paying attention, you will kill him in one move." Killing the enemy in one move was still very difficult. In particular, this divine soul realm might be even stronger than Li Yifeng's. However, without a physical body, there was a limit to how strong a soul could be. Without a compatible physical body, he would not be able to bring out even half of his strength. In a battle, he would surely be at a disadvantage. As for Li Yifeng, he also had a sovereign artifact. This was a huge advantage. NIAO's plan of wholeheartedly cultivating had not even been completed for a month when he discovered that 5 of the 6 vanguards he sent out had already been killed. The news kept coming, which made NIAO feel very unhappy. "Sir, we can't go on like this." At this moment, the 2 protectors beside NIAO said one after another, "We still have the advantage in numbers. Once they nibble away at us step by step, we won't have the advantage in numbers anymore. Why don't we gather the other 6 sirs and counterattack?" According to our observations, there are only 5 or 6 enemies in this god-discarding labyrinth. Their strength had only just entered the heavenly supreme Tao realm. There is nothing to be afraid of. NIAO's eyeballs moved gently. During this period of time, he had integrated about 20 to 30% of the physical body that he had seized. He was still far from achieving great success. With this level of physical body, it was not compatible with his soul at all. When facing a first tribulation heavenly supreme Tao realm expert, he might still have some advantage. When facing a second tribulation heavenly supreme Tao realm expert, he would definitely be defeated. Therefore, it was very difficult for him to make up his mind. "Sir and I, AO, the enemy is constantly nibbling away at us. Once we lose the advantage in numbers, the enemy will counterattack even more unscrupulously. At that time, the situation will be even more unfavorable. If Sir Ni Long doesn't come back to rescue us, we will be in a very bad situation." "Impossible," NIAO denied flatly. "Sir Ni Long is my biological brother. How can he not come to rescue us? Everyone knows about the brotherly relationship between Sir Ni Long and you. However, Sir Ni Long has just escaped from the cage and needs time to find a physical body and refine it. It will be very difficult for them to return in a short period of time. If they found that you didn't rush out and wanted to come back, they would have come back long ago. It has been so long. If they still haven't come back, it means—" When a subordinate said this, he stopped. Lights flashed across NIAO's eyes. "What does it mean?" "Sir, I am guessing that when Sir Ni Long and the others escaped, they were also pursued by the elite powerhouses of the Tianxian land. They cannot spare any time to rescue us. Or else, with the brotherly relationship between you two—" NIAO's expression changed slightly. This was definitely the thing he was most worried about. If the first group of elite warriors escaped and were pursued by the top elite warriors of the Tianxian land, it would be great trouble. However, Are there that many heavenly supreme Tao elite warriors in the Tianxian land? And IAO still could not believe it. He always felt that it was impossible for the Tianxian land to have that many heavenly supreme Tao elite warriors. In the middle of their conversation, suddenly NIAO's divine soul moved slightly. Suddenly, he narrowed his eyes into a line, and a ruthless gaze shot out from his eyes to look into the distance. "Sir, what is it? It seems a rat is crashing over. You too. Protect me from the left and right. I will go and see what level the rat is at." NIAO let out a sinister laugh. He floated out like a gust of wind and dropped to the outside. When he shot a glance down, he saw a young man walking over carefully. "HM?" Again, NIAO's pupils shrunk into a line as he mumbled to himself. "It seems this guy's corporeal body is incredibly powerful." No wonder NIAO was at the third calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Although he did not refine his corporeal body, he still had sharp eyes. With one glance, he could see that this young man below had an incredibly powerful corporeal body. Although currently, it was not enough to match his third calamity, heavenly supreme, Tao divine soul. However, it was clear that this corporeal body was full of potential. It contained astonishing potential for development and was far from reaching its limit. "Is this a fat piece of meat delivered to my door?" NIAO thought quickly. "Or a trap? It cannot be a trap. How much power did this young man possess?" He did not even reach the heavenly supreme Tao stage. It seemed he had not even reached the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage. NIAO laughed, and instantly his eyes became hot. It would be a crime if he did not want this corporeal body before him. To put it bluntly, if he could acquire this corporeal body, his power would be much more powerful than before he was sealed. "I will instruct the two guardians to keep an eye on him. If there are any abnormal movements, cover for me. Fight for a bit of time. I want to seize this corporeal body." NIAO was the kind of person who did what he said. His body glided, and in an exquisite arc, he swooped down. With a shake of his arms, he formed an impact cyclone and pounced towards Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang had obviously calculated everything. Every detail was calculated accurately. When he saw NIAO's figure move, he was already prepared. The purple cloud Yin-Yang wings followed and glided backwards. With an even faster speed, he shot backwards. Almost at the same time, Qin Wushuang's graceful spiritual bow was already in his hand. The shooting sun arrows were knocked. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. For consecutive arrows. The sound of the arrows breaking through the air could almost tear the void apart. It was very ear-piercing and made that kind of rumbling sound. 4 terrifying whirlpools were formed and emitted a soul-stirring golden light. It was as dazzling as the sun in the middle of the sky. The trajectory of this golden light had not even brushed past NIAO's body. It actually bypassed NIAO in a strange arc and shot towards the back. NIAO could not help but be stunned. Wasn't this archery too terrible? However, he immediately realized that something was wrong. This arrow was not aimed at him at all. Sure enough, with 2 painful cries, NIAO's left and right arms were hit by the power of the shooting sun arrows before they could react. Instantly, their bodies exploded and they died. NIAO suddenly realized that the other party had come prepared. He sneered, "Kid, you're good at scheming." Qin Wushuang did not pay attention to him. The other 5 shooting sun arrows were shot out continuously with all his strength towards NIAO's body. NIAO sneered again and again, "Kid, your bow is not bad. But with this little cultivation, you want to sneak attack your master, NIAO? You're too inexperienced, aren't you?" Before he finished his complacent words, suddenly, a powerful force rushed over from the side like an avalanche. As if the sky and earth changed color, NIAO suddenly felt a wave of fear in his soul. This kind of fear was subconsciously felt by the strong warriors of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. NIAO immediately knew that it was not good. He screamed strangely, "Shameless! His figure dashed forward and was about to escape. However, in the end, he was still one step too slow. The blue light in front of him revolved, circle after circle of attacks like a shield of air pressed down on him. The pressure of this air shield was actually more terrifying than any sharp blade. It cut the void until it trembled incessantly. Nio saw that the situation was not right and hurriedly released his soul. At this time, his physical body was actually a burden. However, as soon as his soul came out, the blue air shield from all directions smashed down like a storm. There was almost no gap. When he was in dire straits, suddenly a blue light shone in front of him. A war blade, shining with blue light, slashed down from the sky. With just a slash, the space was cut open like a thin paper. Nio saw the power of this war blade and wailed in his heart, "Master God Weapon!" It was indeed a Master God Weapon. Although Li Yifeng had not refined 50% of the Master God Weapon's power, in this kind of situation, the Master God Weapon's speed and power would definitely have an overwhelming advantage. Nio had nowhere to escape. The fatal blue light had already slashed down and cut on his soul. The blue light suddenly condensed. Then, as if a big ball was suddenly cut open, it exploded and scattered in all directions. Nio's soul was directly shattered into pieces. The miserable screams were endless and spread out in all directions. Li Yifeng's power of the heavenly supreme Tao stirred, suppressing all these miserable screams. Layers of air blocked out, perfectly blocking these screams and gathering them together. It shook the surrounding terrain until it was a mess. The insufferably arrogant Nio had died here before he had the time to expand his empire. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 920. It was Qin Wushuang's first time seeing the power of a Master God Weapon. He was speechless. The blue air shield that filled the sky was like a plague of locusts. There was no gap at all. Qin Wushuang asked himself, if it was him, he wouldn't have any hope of surviving that kind of attack. It was too powerful. The Master God Weapon was already so powerful without using its full power. How powerful would the Master God Weapon be in the hands of a Master God? When Qin Wushuang thought of this, his whole body heated up. Although Nio's death was very secretive, it still alarmed all the alien race divine souls. These guys immediately sensed the death signal of their leader. They almost went crazy. Lord Nio is dead. Lord Nio is a third tribulation heavenly supreme Tao expert. These divine souls, while being surprised, also felt very unbelievable. They came out from the dark and started to gather. This gave Li Yifeng and the others a chance. Li Yifeng and Qin Wushuang did the same thing and killed 3 experts with physical bodies in succession. This thunderous method was so fast that it scared the alien race divine souls silly. The speed at which he killed was simply too fast. Such a fast death speed was no longer a fight, but an inhumane killing. The alien race divine souls who were in a panic gave Wang Chan an opportunity. Along the way, he also killed 2 divine souls. All the divine souls who were not killed finally gathered together. There were only 13 of them left. Of the 6 divine souls sent out by Lord Nio, 5 were killed, and only 1 was left. And of the 18 divine souls who gathered here last time, 6 were killed, and 12 were left. Adding the 2 sides together, there were 13 in total. When they escaped, there were more than 30 of them, but now there were only 13 of them left. Now, Nio was dead, and the one who led them was Meng. Lord Meng, the situation is critical. You have to make a decision. We can't afford to delay any longer. If we delay any longer, we will all be killed. Yes, more than 30 of us were killed until only a dozen are left. If we knew this would happen, we would have gathered the advantage of numbers and fought them head on. Meng's face was gloomy, and he said coldly, "What's the use of talking nonsense now? Lord and I Ming, let's rush out together. If we don't escape, there will be no more hope. And I Ming looked in the direction of the god discarding door, and there was not much hesitation in his eyes. He nodded. Looks like this is the only way. Brothers, gather all your strength. Don't have any scruples. Rush out one as one. Once the spirits of these foreign races were provoked, they were also very ferocious. They gathered together and rushed out of the encirclement. The 13 divine souls gathered together and steeled their hearts to charge out. Their might was still very ferocious. However, this made Li Yifeng and Xiao Yishuan feel very happy. Gathering together saved them a lot of them. The first tribulation of the Heavenly Supreme, Tao, first tribulation, Heavenly Supreme, Tao, self-destructing. The deterrence, power, divine souls. First tribulation, Heavenly Supreme, Tao, divine soul self-destruct was very frightening. And it was a great deterrence. God was Li of the God, God of God, of God, otherwise. Of the God. In this way, there were actually 5 or 6 divine souls that escaped to the entrance of the cave. Xiao Yishuan and Li Yifeng were in hot pursuit, and Qin Wushuang followed closely behind. And Wang Chan was in charge of contacting the other 4 supreme experts, cleaning up the remnants in the cave, and checking if there were any survivors. At the entrance of the cave, Miao Su already felt a strong power rushing out. 6 divine souls of the Heavenly Supreme, Tao, divine path, transformed into a strong aura and rushed out of the god discarding door. Miao Su did not even think. He waved the god weapon and attacked directly. The first divine soul was hit by the god weapon. It screamed and died on the spot. The other 5 divine souls did not resist at all. Seeing the chance of freedom, they scattered into 5 streamers and fled in 5 directions. Li Yifeng and Xiao Yishuan followed closely, chasing in 2 directions. Qin Wushuang was not slow either. He activated the purple cloud yin-yang wings to the limit, and with a graceful spiritual bow hanging on his shoulder, he chased relentlessly. There was only one thought in his mind. No matter what, he had to kill one of these divine souls. One less divine soul meant one less disaster. After a month, Li Bai and the other 3 also rushed back from the outside. Of the 16 divine souls that had escaped, 9 were killed by them one after another. There were still 7 left, but they could not find them no matter what. Clearly, after such a long time of hiding, even someone as strong as Li Bai could not find them. After all, the first group that escaped were the elite of the elite, the elite of the elite. These remaining 7 figures must be the strongest existences among the first group of divine souls. Li Bai knew that when these divine souls found powerful bodies and refined them, the power of these divine souls would gradually reveal themselves. By that time, the situation of the Tianxian land would truly fall into chaos. The foreign tribes outside the soaring of Galaxia barrier had been eyeing covetously and never gave up on attacking the barrier. This way, it was truly a matter of internal and external troubles. Qin Wushuang, Li Yifeng, and the others also rushed back. Out of the 5 divine souls that escaped from the second batch, 4 of them were killed by them. Only 1 divine soul managed to slip through the net. Once again, the heavenly mysterious 7 disciples gathered together. They looked at each other, and there was more pressure in their eyes. Qin Wushuang reflected on himself. Senior brothers, inside this god discarding maze, it's my negligence. I have delayed the important matters. Li Bai waved his hand. It's not your fault. If you must say, it's our negligence in the past. To keep an eye on each of the 50 people that went in, it's not something you can do alone. It's too bad that the enemy is too cunning. It's useless to say these things now. Everyone, talk about the strategy to defeat the enemy. We must kill these divine souls before the soaring of Galaxia barrier shatters. Or else, when we attack from both inside and outside, the Tianxian land will never have a day of peace. Hua Xie was the first to speak. Senior brother, in my opinion, these divine souls will certainly regroup with Queen Mother Golden Crow. I say, We should kill our way to the rushing current valley. We will fight them head-on. If Queen Mother Golden Crow was the leader of the foreign spies, then indeed these divine souls that escaped would most likely regroup with her. However, the rushing current valley was the base camp of Queen Mother Golden Crow. It was difficult to measure how many elite warriors there were and how strong they were. I am afraid it would not be appropriate to go there recklessly. Fifth, don't be hasty, Xiao Yishuan said in a low voice. Clearly, the first group of divine souls are more powerful. In my opinion, the strongest leader of the first group of divine souls is most likely at a higher stage than Senior Brother. We can't underestimate this kind of opponent. That Queen Mother Golden Crow also has a Master God weapon, and her strength is on par with Senior Brother. For this matter, we must not be impulsive. Shi Hingyu nodded. Second Brother is right. Even if we are to attack the rushing current valley, we must have a strict plan. Certainly it's not the way to go there recklessly. The foreign tribes can afford it, but we are not qualified to do so. Losing one Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage Warrior means losing a fresh force. Li Bai nodded and asked Qin Wushuang, how are those paramount totem elite warriors? Qin Wushuang said, they have already broken into the Heavenly Supreme Tao Stage. However, they have only trained for a short time. It's difficult for them to make any major breakthroughs. Li Bai shot a glance at the spiritual key of the god discarding door and gave a long sigh. Time is tight. This god discarding door is about to close. Unless I use my divine power to maintain it, it's meaningless to do so. Everyone also nodded. Yes, Senior Brother, now you're the main force. If you consume your divine souls to buy time for them, we will be caught unprepared when those divine souls of the foreign tribes come to kill us. Qin Wushuang also felt that it would not work to consume them like this. Senior Brother, how about we just close the god discarding door? At least, we can make sure that these divine souls cannot break the soaring of Galaxia barrier. Let those paramount totem elite warriors hide inside to train. Li Bai asked, why not? It's meaningless for them to stay outside. It's better to let them train inside the soaring of Galaxia Tower. Secondly, they can protect the soaring of Galaxia barrier. What if there are still survivors inside? Senior Brother, I think this method will work. Qin Wushuang also nodded and said. Li Bai gave a long sigh. Without a leader to look after those totem powerhouses, I am afraid they will be harassed by those divine souls. There will be endless trouble. Qin Wushuang laughed. In my opinion, now it's time to give up those so-called foundations. It's better to drive them all into the god discarding door. Let them be free inside the god discarding maze. We will open it when the spiritual key recovers its spiritual chi. This was equivalent to letting them be free and leaving their life and death to the heavens. Once the god discarding door closed, they could not come out even if they wanted to. They could only come out again when the spiritual key recovers its spiritual chi and opens the door. Senior Brother, Junior Brother Wushuang's idea is great, Li Yifeng said with a smile. Li Bai said in a low voice, yes, inform all major powerhouses, tell their elite warriors above the Supreme Tao stage to not leave and enter the god discarding maze directly. Of course, everything is voluntary. I believe they can analyze the stakes. Indeed, after hearing Li Bai's analysis of the pros and cons, all the Supreme Tao elite warriors expressed their willingness to train inside the god discarding maze. This was a wise choice. With so many divine souls escaping, who knew whether or not they would become the hunting target of those heavenly Supreme Tao divine souls. Inside the god discarding maze, although it was dangerous and dark, at least it was safe. They would not worry about being hunted by foreign divine souls. Li Bai said seriously, everyone, this is a choice without any regrets. You will only have a chance to come out when I use the spiritual key to open the god discarding door. Besides, to put it bluntly, before going in, each sect must conduct another round of self-examination. You must not send in any more spies. For the Qin clan, they chose to return to the mountain gate of the aspiring throne mountain. Their mountain gate had Qin Wushuang's mustard cave dwelling. Ordinary Heavenly Supreme Tao warriors could not do anything to it. It was no less than the god discarding maze. However, everyone knew that in the end, such evasive tactics could only hold for a while. At most, the time in the Tianxian land would last for 10,000 years. These 10,000 years would determine the final fate of the Tianxian land. If you want to know what will happen next, please log on to www.qijian.com and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 921. Phew, finally I got away. In a desolate island at the endless eastern sea, a divine soul let out a long sigh of relief. After being chased for such a long time and exhausting all his thoughts, he finally got away. This divine soul was the strongest leader among the divine souls that escaped from the god discarding maze. People called him Sir Ni Long, and he was Niao's direct brother. The strength of this Ni Long was also the strongest heavenly supreme Tao elite warrior sealed in the Tianxian land. He possessed the power of the fifth calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage and possessed vast divine abilities. Initially, if he had not been too careless and fell into a trap, he would not have been captured and sealed alive. Now that he had escaped the cage, the vicious tendencies suppressed for tens and thousands of years kept surging inside his chest. As he fixed his gaze at this boundless land, a trace of a cold smile spilled from the corner of Ni Long's mouth. Tianxian land, this time, I will make your blood flow like a river. As he spoke, he sent out his spiritual perception to summon his friends. As soon as he sensed it, Ni Long's expression changed drastically. Only these few, Ni Long discovered with surprise that including him, only 7 divine souls existed in different places of the Tianxian land. At the same time when he sent out his spiritual perception, they all responded, That's not right, this divine soul is? Ni Long discovered that one of the divine souls was relatively unfamiliar. However, this was only unfamiliar to the first group. Sir Ni Long, Huihua. I am Niao's subordinate. Huihua. Ni Long had some impression. Although they were divided into 2 groups, the leader of the second group was led by his direct brother Niao. It was impossible for him to be unfamiliar. How did you get away? Where are the others? Sir Ni Long, our brothers were blocked by the elite warriors of the Tianxian land in the god discarding maze. They suffered severe casualties, and in the end, only 3 or 5 people escaped. I don't know what the situation is now. Ni Long's mind trembled. Only 3 or 5 left. He didn't know why, but his heart suddenly turned cold, and a very inauspicious thought rolled in his mind. His brother Niao did not contact him. If Niao had escaped, it was impossible for him not to contact him. Again, Ni Long's divine soul trembled lightly. Something happened to Niao. This was simply unforgivable. Who killed Niao? Who killed Niao? This thought overflowed wildly in Ni Long's godly soul. This soul made Huihua, who was hundreds of thousands of miles away, tremble. Everyone, gather at the eastern polar region of the endless eastern sea. In the valley of Tang, the Golden Crow Queen Mother led 2 subordinates and the remaining 8 Golden Crows to welcome Lord Ni Long's escape from the god discarding maze. Queen Mother Golden Crow knew that Lord Ni Long was one of the top experts in the Fengyan continent. Back then, when he invaded the Tianxian land, he fell into a trap and was sealed. Now that Lord Ni Long had escaped, she, the Golden Crow Queen, had no choice but to serve Lord Ni Long as her master. Your subordinate, the Golden Crow, greets Lord Ni Long. Queen Mother Golden Crow bowed to welcome him. Her tone was very humble. Behind Ni Long, there were 7 godly souls. They were all Heavenly Supreme Tao experts. Other than the first tribulation of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, the other 6 were 3 second tribulation Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, 2 third tribulation Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, and 1 fourth tribulation Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. These divine spirits were all extremely powerful. They only made Zhang Yu and Duan Shui smack their lips. This Lord and I Long had come with so many powerful spirits. His strength had suppressed the Queen Mother's side. It was not surprising that the Queen Mother was so respectful to Lord and I Long. Long gave a cold sneer. Golden Crow, this time you did a good job. You released us from a seal, and when we return to the Fengyan continent, I will certainly report it to the two master gods. Your Golden Crow will definitely be rewarded by the two sovereigns. Queen Mother Golden Crow was submissive. Although this Lord and I Long only had a divine soul, and if they were to fight, he might not be stronger than her current strength. The name of I Long had pierced her ears like thunder since a few thousand years ago. Queen Mother Golden Crow had no choice but to yield. The most terrifying part was the family behind I Long was even more terrifying. That was the existence that Queen Mother Golden Crow feared the most. Lord and I Long, please come to the Valley of Tang for a chat, Queen Mother Golden Crow said respectfully. I Long gave a cold sneer and looked at the Golden Crow offspring behind Queen Mother Golden Crow. He rolled his eyes and laughed strangely. Queen Mother Golden Crow was instantly alarmed. What did this Lord and I Long want to do with his unfriendly eyes? I Long actually did not conceal his intentions at all and laughed sinisterly. Golden Crow, these offspring of yours have very weak divine souls. It's such a pity that they only have such good physical bodies. What a pity, what a pity. After he finished speaking, I Long's divine soul suddenly transformed into a beam of blue light. A blue frost formed a meteor-like trajectory and directly engulfed a Golden Crow offspring. With a paw sound, the divine soul of a Golden Crow offspring was directly destroyed by I Long. I Long's divine soul directly possessed the body. This speed was extremely fast, and even Queen Mother Golden Crow could not block it in time. A ruthless look shot out of Queen Mother Golden Crow's eyes as she roared. Lord and I Long, what do you mean by this? As if he was doing something very normal, I Long smiled faintly. Golden Crow, I'm only borrowing your body. What are you shouting about? Queen Mother Golden Crow was connected to her children. Every Golden Crow offspring was the root of her life. Although the physical body was still present, the destruction of the divine soul was not much different from death. The feathers all over her body stood up one by one, and a faint golden halo flashed continuously in front of Queen Mother Golden Crow's eyes. Clearly, the fury in her heart had reached its peak, seizing the physical body of her offspring in front of her. This action of I Long's was indeed overbearing. I Long stared coldly at Queen Mother Golden Crow and said coldly, Golden Crow, could it be that you want to defy Lord I Long's orders? Don't forget what your mission is. Queen Mother Golden Crow's entire body trembled slightly. Under I Long's powerful aura, the faint golden halo in her eyes slowly dissipated. Only then did I Long's expression soften slightly, and he snorted coldly. At least you know your place. The rule of the Fengyan continent is that those who are superior are respected. If you want to defy my will, you'd better first consider whether you have the right to defy my will. Queen Mother Golden Crow was repeatedly suppressed by this aura, and her aura continued to weaken. She swallowed her anger and forcefully suppressed her anger. Lowering her posture, she said, Lord and I Long, I was wrong just now. However, these children are all of my bloodline. Lord and I Long, please understand and don't seize their physical bodies again. I Long waved his hand. If I didn't admire the strength of your Golden Crow's physical bodies, I wouldn't want a physical body of yours. Queen Mother Golden Crow glanced at I Long's 7 subordinates. She was not very confident. The other party had 8 people, and she had exactly 8 Golden Crow offspring. If these fellows were to attack him one by one, all of his cubs would have their physical bodies taken away. If that were to happen, he might as well just kill him. Lord and I Long, how can you care about this? If these 7 fellows also want to seize my children's physical bodies, then they have to ask the Master God weapon in my hands first. Queen Mother Golden Crow's faint golden flames appeared again as she stared coldly at the 7 fellows who were eyeing her covetously. Indeed, when those 7 fellows saw Lord Enai Long seize the physical bodies of the Golden Crow offspring, they were also eager to give it a try. However, without Lord Enai Long's instruction, they would not dare to act presumptuously before Queen Mother Golden Crow. Enai Long laughed. "Everyone, you must bear with it. After all, the Golden Crow is a meritorious servant and a fellow Taoist. You cannot go too far." The expression of Queen Mother Golden Crow relaxed slightly, yet she did not dare to let down her guard. Enai Long smiled. "Golden Crow, my subordinates can give up on your offspring, but their physical bodies will fall on you to deal with." Queen Mother Golden Crow nodded. "All right, leave this to me. Don't be careless. Now, all elite warriors with some strength in the Tianxian land have entered the God-discarding maze. For ordinary bodies, it's not enough for my subordinates to use." Queen Mother Golden Crow was in a somewhat difficult situation. If all elite warriors from different clans had entered the God-discarding maze, it would not be easy for her. She would not be able to use those people with mediocre potential. One of the divine souls next to Enai Long said with a cold sneer, "Golden Crow, you have been a spy for tens and thousands of years at the Tianxian land. You must have a network of power. Gather all of these people here. Pick 7 of them with the power of the genuine supreme Tao stage. They will contribute their bodies to the cause of the Fengyun land." Inwardly, Queen Mother Golden Crow shuddered. She felt she was ruthless enough. However, compared to this Lord Enai Long, she realized that she was not a ruthless figure. At least, Queen Mother Golden Crow would never treat her own people as if they were mere grass. Judging from the tone of Lord Enai Long, he could decide the life and death of people with a wave of his hand. Most likely, only those exceptional elite warriors who were used to being in a superior position would possess such bearing. Although she felt somewhat strange, Queen Mother Golden Crow did not dare to neglect. On the contrary, she was in a rush to complete this matter. She must find these divine souls' bodies, or else it would not be a good thing for them to target her Golden Crow offspring. The trip to the God-discarding maze had ended completely. Finally, these foreign tribe, spies hiding in the dark, no longer needed to hide. 10 days later, a few dozen spies kept rushing towards the rushing current valley. These powerhouses were cultivated with great effort. At least half of them were elite warriors of the genuine supreme Tao stage. Queen Mother Golden Crow turned around and asked her 2 subordinates, "Zhan Yu, Duan Shui, is everyone here?" "Queen Mother, there are 66 of us. This time, we lost 6 to the God-discarding maze. Now, there are only 60 left. That 9 change, Celestial Tiger's body and soul were destroyed. And that Celestial Miao Yun, the spy I developed in the Tianxian land. She was the one who lifted the seal of Lord Enai Long and the other elite warriors. She was also destroyed. Only Yin Hong is left. Her whereabouts are unknown. Perhaps she also lost her life in the chaos." Queen Mother Golden Crow nodded and said to Enai Long, "Lord Enai Long, everyone is here. There are 60 of them in total. Please take a look." Enai Long nodded. With a slightly strange smile, he inspected the 60 faces. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 922. These 60 spies had always been pawns of the foreign clan's power network. They were controlled by Zhan Yu and Duan Shui. In their eyes, these 2 were absolute gods. Now, they saw the gods they revered in their hearts being respectful to Queen Mother Golden Crow. As for the Golden Crow Queen Mother, she was very respectful to this great god called Lord Enai Long. When everyone was swept by Sir Enai Long's strange gaze, a trace of guilty conscience flashed across their hearts. Such a sharp gaze. Enai Long revealed a slight smile. "Everyone, perhaps some of you have come here tens and thousands of years ago, or perhaps you are the offspring of your ancestors. This doesn't matter. only ask you, do you know where your roots are? The Fengyan land. Don't look at how these spies had stayed at the Tianxian land for tens and thousands of years. They had received brainwashing education. Therefore, they only had one belief, the Fengyan land. They only had one mission in their hearts, and that was to be a good spy. Seeing the unanimous answer, and I long smiled with satisfaction. Very good, your answers are not bad. Then for the Fengyan land, for your unfinished business, are you willing to contribute everything, including your life and soul? Yes, yes. Waves of determined roars rang out, and I long roared with laughter. Very good. If there are people from tens and thousands of years ago among you, you should know my name and my background. There was a wave of whispers all around. When those foreign clan elite warriors that had been here since the immemorial era heard the self-introduction of an I Long, all of them suddenly remembered something. Each of their expressions changed drastically. Surprise, joy, and even doubt and fear emerged one after another. Serene I Long was the vanguard of the war of the gods tens and thousands of years ago. An elite warrior at the fifth calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. My 7 brothers are all elite warriors that followed me to conquer the Tianxian land. Now, their corporeal bodies have been destroyed. I plan to borrow the bodies of the 7 of you. These words were spoken at neither fast nor slow pace, yet it made people shudder with fear and trepidation. When those 60 people heard that they were going to borrow their bodies, instantly there was absolute silence. Each of them revealed an ashen expression. Their eyes became incredibly unnatural as they did not dare to break away from Serene I Long. It was as if they were afraid of being chosen as soon as they made eye contact. This was not a joke. It sounded nice to say that they were going to borrow their bodies. Who didn't know that borrowing one's physical body was equivalent to giving one's life away? These powerful divine souls had taken over their corporeal bodies. Could it be that they would still retain their divine souls? It must have been destroyed on the spot. And I Long's expression turned cold. Why? Queen Mother Golden Crow is of noble character and unquestionable integrity, offering a son for my spirit to reside in. You slaves are making all sorts of excuses? Queen Mother Golden Crow shouted sternly, "Everyone, this is the best time for you to offer sacrifices to the wind and cloud continent. It will be a great honor for any one of you to be chosen." After returning to their homeland, they would bring honor to their ancestors and share glory with them. Now that I've made all sorts of excuses and angered Lord and I Long, my corporeal body will still be taken away. Instead, I'll end up with the infamy of disobedience. These experts were all cursing in their hearts. Are we supposed to deliver ourselves to your doorstep? Whose life was not a life. He had worked hard for the Fengyan continent for tens of thousands of years, but in the end, he had to sacrifice his physical body. If they didn't take the initiative to contribute, they would have to bear the infamy of being disobedient? How could there be such logic in this world? Their faces were clearly filled with dissatisfaction. They looked at Zhan Yu and Duan Shui. They had always only listened to Zhan Yu and Duan Shui. Queen Mother Golden Crow did not have direct control over them. Therefore, they wanted to hear what these 2 leaders had to say. Zhan Yu gave a light cough and said with an apologetic smile, "Serene I Long, Your Majesty Queen Mother, I dare to say something. Now, the wind and cloud continent is in need of people. I am afraid it will cause instability in the army's morale if we kill each other. Why don't we target those sects of the Tianxian land? Those that go to the god-discarding maze are all reputable sects in the Tianxian land. They are all extremely powerful elite warriors. Some second-tier sects also have many Supreme Tao elite warriors, yet they are not qualified to go to the god-discarding door. Our hunting target." When he said this, Zhan Yu shot a careful glance at I Long and Queen Mother Golden Crow. These 2 were expressionless and clearly, they were not interested in his suggestion. I Long shot a glance at Zhan Yu. Do these second-tier sects have genuine Supreme Tao elite warriors? Zhan Yu was somewhat hesitant. Even at the first-tier sects, the number of genuine Supreme Tao elite warriors can be counted on one's fingers. 4 genuine supreme Tao elite warriors. Only the totem powerhouses have many of them. Adding up the entire Tianxian land, there are no more than 50 genuine supreme Tao elite warriors. And I Long said with a cold sneer, "According to your words, with our strength, it's enough to sweep across the Tianxian land." Zhan Yu said with a bitter smile, "I would not dare to talk about this. I heard that the Tianxian land also has some trump cards, some hidden elite warriors." Humph. And I Long appeared extremely displeased as he shot a glance at Queen Mother Golden Crow. Golden Crow, it seems you did not train your subordinates well. Queen Mother Golden Crow shivered inwardly, and I Long's tone was not friendly. Don't try to target her offspring again. When she thought here, the expression of Queen Mother Golden Crow sank as she said with a sharp voice, "Zhan Yu, don't talk too much. And I Long's subordinates are all elite warriors at the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. Their training time is extremely precious. They are our greatest trump card to counterattack the Tianxian land. We can't afford any delays. Even if we ask for some low-level divine, Tao, corporeal bodies, it won't work." As soon as these words were spoken, Zhan Yu was submissive. With a bitter smile, he did not dare to speak anymore. He knew that if he were to speak again, perhaps he would not be borrowing the bodies of his subordinates, but the bodies of this second calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. This was not a joke. Among the 7 great divine souls, there was one at the 4th calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage and 2 at the 3rd calamity. The remaining 4 were not to be trifled with either. And I Long's voice that sounded like a judgment sounded lightly. "Those who do not want to be involved, do not move. I will only borrow 7 bodies." Before an I Long's voice dropped, a burst of lightning-like vital lights shot out from his eyes. It transformed into dozens of cold star-like lights and shot towards these 60 people. As if a magic trick, these cold star-like lights locked onto these dozens of people at the same time. It was as if an immobilizing talisman was stuck on their bodies and they could not break free. Do it! Those 7 divine souls transformed into 7 long rainbows and shot down directly. The momentum was extremely vast. The spiritual energy of different shapes and sizes rushed directly into the 7 bodies. The owners of the 7 bodies screamed tragically almost at the same time. Their divine souls were instantly destroyed by the divine souls of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage and turned into ashes. Their entire bodies were seized and changed to a new owner. As if he was looking at something insignificant, and I Long raised his arm lightly. Those cold star-like talismans flew away from the other people's bodies and merged into the void, disappearing into nothingness. The 6 Heavenly Supreme Tao experts who had obtained bodies were all overjoyed. They knelt in front of I Long, greetings to Lord I Long. Many thanks to Lord I Long for bestowing these bodies. The others were dumbfounded. These were clearly the bodies of their companions, but they wanted to thank Lord I Long for bestowing them with bodies. This was not the logic of ordinary bandits. But at this time, these people were still in a state of shock. Even if they had thousands of thoughts in their minds, how could they voice them out? Other than rejoicing in their hearts, they had no other thoughts. And I Long's blade-like voice sounded again. "I will only say this once. Sacrificing yourselves for the Fengyan continent is an honor for both of us. Under such circumstances, perhaps you are the ones sacrificing yourselves. But under other more important circumstances, perhaps it will be us. Therefore, don't feel it's unfair and don't feel resentful. There is only one rule at the Fengyan continent. Obey the strong." Obeying the strong was an iron-like law. When Queen Mother Golden Crow heard these words, her heart also thumped madly. Even when the body of a cub was taken away, she realized that she truly did not dare to complain. Rules, these were the rules. And I Long said lightly, "These 7 brothers will enter solitary training with me. It will be at least 100 years, at most 300 to 500 years. Golden Crow, you must report the situation of this Tianxian land to me at all times. Also, and investigate who killed my brother and I, AO. The Queen Mother of the Golden Crow was submissive and could only agree. After Ni Long and the others entered solitary training completely, the other people could finally breathe freely. Each of their faces were filled with a sense of rejoicing after surviving a calamity. At this moment, no one would complain. After all, they were not the ones who died. Before the powerful Lord Ni Long, they had no right to complain. Zhang Yu wiped the sweat from his forehead. Lord Ni Long's aura is too terrifying. Your Majesty, what should we do next? Queen Mother Golden Crow did not hesitate at all. We must do what Lord Ni Long instructed first. Lord Ni Ao is Lord Ni Long's direct younger brother. This time he was killed. We must investigate this matter ruthlessly. We must do it at all costs. Zhang Yu said with a bitter smile, "Didn't you say those elite warriors of the Tianxian land all hid in the god-discarding maze? Where should we investigate? Didn't some of them not go to the god-discarding maze? That's a minority. I already investigated. Besides the Qin clan and a few groups of people under the Qin clan, the others all entered the god-discarding maze without hesitation." Qin clan, it's the Qin clan again. Queen Mother Golden Crow knew that initially her 10th son had a grudge with the Qin clan. The Golden Crow clan never had a good impression of the owner of the graceful spiritual bow. Saberbeard. Zhang Yu waved his hand. Saberbeard walked out carefully. This time, he was incredibly lucky. When choosing 7 corporeal bodies, he thought that he would be chosen this time. Unexpectedly, he was lucky enough to escape this calamity. Sir Zhang Yu, I am here. You know the situation of the Qin clan well, right? Saberbeard nodded. I fought with the Qin clan a few times, so I know a little. The other people of the Qin clan are ordinary. Only that Qin Wushuang is powerful. His most powerful aspect is not his divine skills, but his speed of improvement. It seems that along the way, other people slowly climbed one step at a time, but he flew directly. His cultivation speed is no ordinary freak. Yes, it's all in the information. Last time when 10th Prince went to the Aspiring Throne Mountain, he did not break through the mountain gate defense. Is this true? Saberbeard gave a helpless sigh. I also find it strange. Initially, when Xian Tianwen attacked the mountain gate of the Qin clan, he only used a genuine supreme Dao weapon to destroy most of the mountain gate of the Aspiring Throne Mountain. In general, since 10th Prince has surpassed those paramount totem elite warriors, he should not have been unable to break through. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 923. Queen Mother Golden Crow gave a cold sneer. Facts speak louder than words. Since that kid of the Qin clan acquired the graceful spiritual bow, he must not be an ordinary person. We must not let down our guard. Zhang Yu also nodded. Information from all sides shows that indeed, this Qin Wushuang has great fortune and fortuitous opportunities. It's widely rumored that Qin Wushuang inherited some immemorial formation. By inheriting that formation, he can ride above the peak of the Tianxian land. Just what kind of formation is that immemorial formation? It's always been a mystery. Queen Mother Golden Crow also felt incredibly puzzled. It's rather strange. During the gods' era of the Tianxian land, didn't they build the god-discarding maze to preserve their strength? What was the point of building another high-level array formation? Isn't this drawing legs on a snake? Or could it be that an ordinary heavenly supreme Dao elite warrior did not fit in and did not inherit the cave, dwelling inside the god-discarding maze, or build it outside? Zhang Yu said with a bitter smile. The inheritance of this cave dwelling is not a joke. Those heavenly supreme Dao elite warriors should not be so childish, right? That's strange, since that Qin Wushuang did not enter the god-discarding maze. How much powerful formation could he have inherited? Queen Mother Golden Crow's tone was also somewhat confused. Then she instructed, Zhang Yu, this time you will go out and ask around at the Qin clan. Remember, Be careful along the way. Don't meet those two heavenly supreme Tao elite warriors with Master God weapons. Yes, Queen Mother. For the Qin clan, besides the Qin clan, the Floating Snow House, Misty Sword Sect, 100 Lane Clan, and Thousand Feather Sect, these four trusted clans never entered the god discarding maze. Regarding the cave dwelling inside the god discarding maze, perhaps other sects would covet it. However, the Qin clan would not care. The Seven Deadly Arrays formation owned by Qin Wushuang was definitely more valuable than the Tianxian land. The only regret was that the seventh loop of the Seven Deadly Arrays formation was rich in spiritual qi. Only those at the genuine Supreme Tao stage were qualified to train inside. Or else, if all the elite warriors of the Qin clan were to train together, the effect would be monstrous. Training inside for 100 years was equivalent to 10,000 years in the outside world. 10,000 years was enough for him to achieve the peak of the true Supreme Tao realm. Currently, for the Qin clan, they were already at the genuine Supreme Tao stage. Besides Qin Wushuang, there was Grand Elder Qin Xiaodian and Bao Bao. Those who were close to the true Supreme Tao stage were Qin Yunran, Loneliness, Fire Kylan, and Ai Simo and Nanan, the two divine beasts of the immemorial Azure Dragon bloodline. Next up were Qin Chongyang, Qin Taichong, and the two leaders of the Bailey clan and the Thousand Feather sect. Mu Rong Qianji and the leader of the Misty Sword sect came later, but they were only in the Transformation Supreme Tao realm. They still had a long way to go before they could break through to the genuine Supreme Tao realm. Qin Wushuang's current goal was very clear, which was to quickly support a portion of the true Supreme Tao elite warriors to enter the seventh ring to cultivate. He would strive to nurture more peak of the true Supreme Tao stage. After all, as long as one entered the genuine Supreme Tao stage and entered the seventh ring to cultivate, with the speed of 1 against 100, it would be difficult not to reach the peak. Hence, before they set off to enter the seventh ring, Qin Wushuang had repeatedly urged Qin Yunran and the others to cultivate with all their might so that they could enter the genuine Supreme Tao realm as soon as possible so that he could make arrangements. Qin Yunran, Lone, and the others had also obtained many benefits in the Heavenly Supreme Tao realm's third calamity cave abode. Qin Wushuang did not plan to give them the two Heavenly Supreme Tao weapons for the time being. There were also 4 or 5 other ninth calamity genuine Supreme Tao weapons, which Qin Wushuang had prepared for them. Once they entered the ninth calamity, he would give them to them. This was also to encourage them to work harder to cultivate. It was Qin Xiaoyan's first time following Qin Wushuang into the Seven Deadly Arrays formation. Although he was an old guy who had lived for more than 10,000 years, he was still very curious. When he reached the seventh ring of the formation, Qin Xiaodian was more like a mouse that had fallen into a rice jar. He only felt that happiness had come so suddenly. Originally, the internal injuries on his body still needed a long time to recover. In this seventh ring, it only took him a month to completely recover. Moreover, there was also a breakthrough in his realm. This was simply beyond Qin Xiaoyan's understanding. Now, he finally understood why Qin Wushuang was so monstrous. He sighed and said, "Head Chief Wushuang, this formation is really the creation of heaven and earth. I don't dare to imagine it. I don't dare to imagine it. No wonder you are a young hero and are so exceptional." However, Bao Bao laughed. "Grand Elder, I am not happy to hear you say it this way. My boss did not rely on this formation when he trained in the past. Among the 7 rings of the formation, only this place has such spiritual qi. The other formations are not much different than ordinary mountain caves. It was just a powerful seal. There is no spiritual qi to supply training. Therefore, my boss is a genius for increasing his strength. He did not rely on this formation." Qin Wushuang laughed. "Bao Bao, my talent also came from this formation inheritance. It's not wrong to say that I benefited from this formation." Qin Xiaodian roared with laughter. "Regardless, you are an exceptional genius. This is beyond doubt. Wushuang, since you are close to the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage, why didn't you stay inside that God-discarding door? Didn't you say that there is a soaring Galaxia barrier and a soaring Galaxia tower? This news did not spread widely. However, for a core figure of the Qin clan like Qin Shaodian, Qin Wushuang did not hide it. Bao Bao revealed a meaningful smile, and strangely, he did not cut in. However, Qin Wushuang said, "Grand Elder, since I brought you here, there is no need to hide it. I also have a transportation channel that leads to other planes. It's not difficult to achieve the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage." At first, Qin Shaodian was stunned. Then he laughed. I see. This formation is so exceptional. It would be strange if it did not have such a move. Ha ha, Bao Bao said with a grinning face. Those people must think my boss is crazy. He did not use the training ground that can fight 30 people, but wants to return to the aspiring throne mountain. Qin Shaodian gave a long sigh. 1 against 30, only the soaring Galaxia tower can do it, right? There is no such good thing in the God-discarding maze. Or else, the other elite warriors of the Qin clan who are not at the genuine supreme Tao stage can stay inside the God-discarding maze. Qin Wushuang nodded. The requirement of the soaring Galaxia tower is much higher than here. Not only must one have strength close to the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage, one must also have a commanding plate. Not one of them can be missing. Bao Bao laughed. Now, for those people outside, we cannot figure out who is a good person and who is a spy. Therefore, for now, my boss does not plan to bring strangers in. Unless they are willing to be my master's puppet, we will never let them go. Qin Shaodian agreed deeply. Yes, at the crucial moment, only our own people could be relied on. By the way, Wushuang, what do you plan to do with that Yinhong heir? Qin Wushuang said, Don't be in a rush. Let her stay in the God-discarding maze. Besides my senior brothers, no one else knows that she is a spy. I plan to keep her as a chess piece and arrange her to go to Queen Mother Golden Crow. This time, many elite warriors of the foreign tribes escaped. After a few hundred years, when they merge with their corporeal bodies, they will become a great threat. Therefore, our Tianxian land cannot wait for 10,000 years. Perhaps in the next 300 or 500 years, the Tianxian land will face a great crisis. However, Bao Bao said, Boss, I think it's impossible for those divine souls to unleash their original power. Regardless of how powerful the divine souls they seized were, they would only be at the genuine supreme Tao stage. They cannot seize the corporeal body of an elite warrior at the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Before the soaring of Galaxia boundary is broken, it's impossible for them to refine their corporeal bodies to match their divine souls. They would be exceptional if they could unleash 60 or 70% of their original power. Qin Shaodian also said, Bao Bao's words make sense. Without a matching corporeal body, it's impossible to unleash 100% of their divine skills. Striving for 60 or 70% is their greatest limit. Qin Wushuang gave a long sigh. Now, I just don't know how powerful those divine souls that escaped are. If they were at the sixth calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage, even if they unleashed half of their power, it's enough to fight against those at the fifth calamity. Sixth calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Bao Bao cried out. Boss, it's unlikely, right? During the immemorial gods era, wasn't the strongest warrior at the fifth calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage? Since those people were sealed by the Tianxian land, it's impossible for them to be stronger than those at the fifth calamity, right? I feel that at most, they are at the fifth calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. They can't be any stronger. Qin Wushuang laughed. All right, no matter how strong the enemy is, it's something that cannot be changed. What we can grasp is how strong we are. Let's start training. In 10 years, I will return to the aspiring throne mountain. By that time, Lone and the others should be able to break into the genuine supreme Tao stage. Although the 10 years inside and outside the 7 loops of this formation were the same. In terms of the training effect, 10 years here was equivalent to 1,000 years in the outside world. There was no sun or moon in the mountain. These 10 years could not be considered a long time. On this day, Bao Bao and Qin Xiaodian woke up with a start from their solitary training. It was because they sensed a burst of overflowing aura. A burst of powerful power seemed to be looking for a way to release it. There was a loud rumbling sound. Inside the entire 7 loops of the formation, countless strong lights overflowed all of a sudden. Qin Wushuang walked out from that strong light and gave a long sigh. Indeed, inside this 7 loop, the natural laws are still restricted. It's impossible to soar to the Galaxia. Currently, Qin Wushuang had already trained to the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage. A moment ago, he wanted to test if he could communicate with the essence of the heaven and earth and soar to the Galaxia. In the end, he realized that all his efforts were in vain. Haha, Grand Elder Bao Bao, you guys keep training. I will return to the aspiring throne mountain. Inside the aspiring throne mountain, Qin Yunran and the others did not disappoint. This included Qin Yunran, Lone, Fire Kylan, and the 2 sisters with the Tsang dragon bloodline. All of them broke through the barrier and advanced to the genuine supreme Tao stage. Qin Wushuang laughed. Great, I will take you guys to a place and give you guys a great fortune. In 20 years, you must train to the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage. 20 years to train to the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage? Even someone as conceited as Lone could not refrain from scratching his head. Boss, 20 years. Aren't you asking too much of us? We are not comparable to your monstrous talent. Qin Wushuang laughed. Let's go. You will know when we get there. When they arrived at the 7th loop of the formation, Qin Yunran and the others were completely stunned. They realized that Bao Bao and Grand Elder Qin Xiaodian, who had only left for 10 years, had already trained to the 8th calamity of the genuine supreme Tao stage. They were only 1 step away from the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage. Bao Bao seemed to have guessed their thoughts as he said with a beaming smile, Senior Lone, are you depressed and surprised? Haha, you have just entered the genuine supreme Tao stage, and I am already at the 8th calamity of the genuine supreme Tao stage. Do you feel that your talent is not so different from mine? Indeed, Lone was speechless as he gave a long sigh. Bao Bao, what special fruit did you eat? Haha, what special fruit? This is boss's territory. 1 day can be used as 100 days. Tell me, 10 years of our time is equivalent to 1,000 years of training in the outside world. Can we not improve our training? 1 day as 100 days? Then wouldn't 20 years be 2,000 years? It would be highly possible to train to the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage in 2,000 years. Haha, the most recent plot will be very important. Wushuang is going to soar to the Galaxia and open up a new territory. Therefore, he needs to organize his thoughts. He will not be able to explode today. I am afraid he will not be able to explode tomorrow because of some matters. Starting from the day after tomorrow, Old Bull will exert his strength and complete the 100 chapters update plan for this month. To be continued. If you want to know about the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. More chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 924. After taking over this group of genuine Supreme Tao elite warriors, it would take some time for the others to enter the genuine Supreme Tao stage. Everyone surrounded Qin Wushuang consciously. Even Qin Xiaodian, the head chief of the Qin clan, stood on the side cooperatively. They all knew that Qin Wushuang was preparing to open the transportation channel that soared to the Galaxia. Outside of this channel was a plane that Li Xianfeng had set up for him. It was an extremely subtle and advanced plane. Li Xianfeng once mentioned that that plane was especially suitable for training at the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. It was more than 10 times faster than training at the Tianxian land. At the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, if the training speed was increased by 10 times, plus the supreme Tao inheritance bestowed by Li Xianfeng, Qin Wushuang would certainly not have a slow training speed even if he had reached the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Bao Bao looked at that mysterious transportation channel with eager eyes. This was not a transportation channel inside the Tianxian land, but one that led to the Galaxia, to another plane. For such a transportation channel, the magic power required and the risk one would have to bear were incomparable to the 7 deadly arrays formation. It was extremely easy to transport the channel inside the 7 deadly arrays formation. It could be said that as long as one had sufficient strength, there would be almost no risk. Boss, are you really going alone? Bao Bao asked with a mumble. Qin Wushuang laughed. Time waits for no one. You guys train here. I will go and see what kind of world it is outside of the Tianxian land. When everyone saw how he spoke with ease, they felt more or less relieved from the repressed emotions. Regardless, this was a path to a strange world, a world full of dangers. It would be impossible to say that they were not worried at all. Regardless of mortals or martial artists, when facing the unknown, besides being curious, they would certainly have a little bit of worry. Everyone, you guys stay here and train at ease. Don't get involved with the changes in the outside world. In these few hundred years, there will not be much change in the outside world. At most, it will not be more than 300 years. At the fastest, I will be back in 3 or 5 years. I will not keep you guys waiting. Head Chief, take care. Qin Xiaodian gave a long sigh. Everyone, take care. Qin Wushuang ordered everyone to leave, in case this forcibly opened transmission array was too powerful and ended up injuring others. Qin Wushuang felt as if his entire body was a ball of dough that was constantly being squeezed. After an unknown amount of time, Qin Wushuang felt as if his bones were about to fall apart. This Galaxy teleportation array was indeed a completely different concept from the 7-terminal array's teleportation. There were several times when Qin Wushuang felt that he could not hold on any longer. However, Qin Wushuang's mind was very clear. He didn't relax at all. Finally, towards the end, he felt the restriction on his body slowly disappear. His body was like a phoenix that had been reborn from the fire, becoming more and more relaxed. That feeling was as if he was soaring in the starry sky, free and unrestrained. Breakthrough? Qin Wushuang had never thought that what he had experienced in the teleportation array was actually a process of transformation, a process of breakthrough. Whoosh! All of his feelings calmed down in that instant. Qin Wushuang's feet landed on the ground. His vision around him also became clear all of a sudden. Qin Wushuang looked around and realized that he was still inside a cave. Only, this cave was clearly in the underground world and appeared extremely gloomy and cold. Qin Wushuang sensed the surrounding environment slightly and realized that the spiritual qi inside this cave was indeed abundant. Qin Wushuang understood a little and heard the voice of his teacher Li Xianfeng. My disciple, the place where this cave is located is called the Celestial Phenomenon Land. Compared to the plane of your Tianxian land, the overall strength is much stronger. This is a plane with a master. It is at least 10 times bigger than the Tianxian land. In this plane, there are at least 2 or 3 master gods. Therefore, don't let your guard down, understand? Qin Wushuang slowly digested this information. Li Xuanfeng's voice sounded again. My disciple, this celestial phenomenon land is not the same as your great Qian starfield. However, it is closer to your Tianxian land. The celestial phenomenon land is a relatively strong plane of the Forgotten River starfield. Compared to the Fengyan land, it is even stronger. Also, it is relatively close to the Fengyan land. So this celestial phenomenon land belonged to the edge of the Forgotten River starfield, and the Fengyan land belonged to the edge of the Great Qian starfield. Therefore, the distance between them was relatively close. Qin Wushuang understood that his teacher had put in a lot of effort. Certainly, he had arranged the transportation formation at the celestial phenomenon land for a profound reason. My disciple, although this celestial phenomenon land is close to the Fengyan land, they are definitely not harmonious. That's why I arranged for your teleportation array to be here. There's a reason for that. Li Xianfeng said with a smile. Your Tianxian land is located at the border between the Great Qian Starfield and the Forgotten River Starfield. Also, it is a relatively remote area. Plus, there are strange nebulas shrouding the surroundings. If one is not familiar with this starfield, it is impossible to discover the Tianxian land. Plus, the Tianxian land is relatively small and lacking in resources. Overall, it is a relatively low-end plane. Therefore, the Tianxian land can exist for so long without being targeted. Otherwise, in a plane without a planar ruler, it was almost inevitable that someone would spy on it. My disciple, arranged you here as a hint. Do you understand? After a moment of sudden realization, Qin Wushuang realized something. The Tianxian land belonged to a small plane without a master. It was incomparable to the Fengyun land. And the Fengyun land had two master gods tens of thousands of years ago. Now that tens of thousands of years had passed, their strength must have increased. Such a plane would certainly be very popular in the entire Great Qian Starfield. According to what his teacher mentioned last time, since this Fengyun land was related to the master of the Great Qian Starfield, it must have a great background. Most likely, it would not work to reason with the Tianxian land. Even if Qin Wushuang acquired the Master God position, most likely he would encounter resistance when he wanted to register in the Great Qian Starfield. Teacher, could it be? A light flashed across Qin Wushuang's mind. Haha, my disciple. Your Tianxian land is a plane without a master and belongs to the middle zone. To put it bluntly, you are a fence-sitter for now. You can fall in whichever direction you like. In the Great Qian Starfield, the Fengyun land is powerful and has eyes everywhere. It would be extremely difficult for you to gain recognition there. I think the elite warriors of the Great Qian Starfield would not care about the survival of your little plane. Therefore, if you want to move around in the Great Qian Starfield, your future will be terrible. Of course, the premise is that you have not completed your training. If you achieve great success in your cultivation and possess the strength of your master when I was at my peak, then you can do whatever you want in the Great Qian Star Domain. You can do whatever you want in the Great Qian Star Domain. Even if you want to kill the heavenly warrior controlling the Great Qian Starfield on a whim, no one would dare to oppose you when you sit there. In the end, power was still power. However, in terms of power, it was exactly what Qin Wushuang lacked the most and what he desired the most. My disciple, the Tianxian land is your home. Although the people of the Tianxian land are ordinary, your love for your home is no different than mine. This is also the reason why I was willing to help them in secret. I also hope that you can work hard for this goal. Where there is a will, there is a way. Regardless of a master god or a heavenly warrior, you must remember, as long as you are alive, there is hope to defeat them. Even if you have to lose something one day, you can get it back tenfold when you have completed your power. Those people who bullied and suppressed, you will still have to crawl under your feet and lick your toes in the end. Qin Wushuang clenched his fists lightly as streaks of sharp lights flashed across his eyes. A wave of resentment towards the Fengyun land burned fiercely inside his body. My disciple, work hard for it. The conditions of this celestial land are at least 10 times better than your Tianxian land. You will get twice the result with half the effort when you train here with my bloodline inheritance. I have prepared some basic things for you here. Remember, everything starts from the beginning here. I do not want to prepare everything for you. Therefore, I have only prepared some basic things for you this time. Don't expect too much. Qin Wushuang did not expect too much. In fact, his teacher had given him enough good things. He also knew the principle of biting off more than he could chew. If he could master all of the things inside the 7 deadly arrays formation, he would definitely be able to stand at the peak of this world. First of all, I have prepared crystal stones for you. This type of crystal stone can be used in the entire Great Luo universe. As long as it is a registered plane, you can pass through it. Your Tianxian land is not registered and has no master of the plane. Therefore, you are not qualified to use this type of crystal stone. This type of crystal stone is called the Great Luo Crystal Stone. It is divided into 12 grades. The first to third grade is the lower grade. the 4th to 6th grade is the middle grade, and the 7th to 9th grade is the upper grade. Above the 9th grade is called the supreme grade. Generally, the lower grade is the majority and the middle grade is precious. If it is the upper grade, it is extremely high-end. If it is the supreme grade, you can only come across it by chance. Haha, just these words, you can only come across it by chance. If you are not at the Master God level, you are not qualified to own the supreme grade Great Luo Crystal Stone. Of course, I have prepared 1,000 lower grade crystal stones and 100 middle grade crystal stones for you. 10 upper grade. As for the supreme grade, haha, I have also prepared 3 for you. These 3 are all priceless treasures. I can tell you clearly that if your supreme grade crystal stone is the 10th grade, these 3 are enough to move a Master God. If it is the 11th grade and you have 3, you can make a Master God work for you. If it is the top 12th grade Great Luo Crystal, then congratulations, one can make a Master God your slave. You can even order a Heavenly Master. Regretfully, my 3 supreme grade crystal stones are all the 10th grade. Haha, the Great Luo Crystal Stone was divided into 12 grades and 4 grades. It was not hard to digest. However, when he heard how precious the supreme grade crystal stones were, he could not help but smack his lips. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 925. For these great Luo crystal stones, Li Xianfeng had prepared them well. More than 1,000 great Luo crystal stones were enough to support Qin Wushuang's daily expenses at the Celestial Phenomenon Land. The second set of items Li Xianfeng had prepared for him was the structure of some powerhouses at the Celestial Phenomenon Land, information about some important sects and powerhouses, and some local customs and practices of this land. Of course, there would be no lack of maps. This was Li Xuanfeng's usual style. With these items, Qin Wushuang immediately had a lot of clues. Currently, Qin Wushuang was already an elite warrior of the Heavenly Supreme Dao stage. Although he had not passed the first calamity, he could already be counted as a Heavenly Supreme Dao stage elite. At the Tianxian land, Heavenly Supreme Dao elite warriors were definitely top-notch existences. And at the Celestial Phenomenon land, they would not be considered weak. Their status was equivalent to the genuine Supreme Dao stage in the Tianxian land. Although there were Heavenly Supreme Dao elite warriors, there would not be many. There would not be more than 100 native Heavenly Supreme Dao elite warriors. However, the Celestial Phenomenon land was a plane with a master of the plane. Therefore, it had its own unique Galaxia transportation formation. With the official Galaxia transportation formation, there would be a lot of communication between the elite warriors of the plane. Therefore, the number of Heavenly Supreme Dao elite warriors of the Celestial Phenomenon land, both foreign and native, was extremely spectacular. Because of this, the identity of an outsider like Qin Wushuang would not appear too abrupt. On the whole, the Celestial Phenomenon land was not very xenophobic. Of course, with his identity as an outsider, it was not impossible for him to seek refuge with the local powerhouses. However, the chances of entering the upper echelons were next to nothing. Therefore, Qin Wushuang did not plan to seek refuge with the local powerhouses. Now, he was considering how to obtain a better training place in the local powerhouses or to borrow some help from the local powerhouses to increase his strength. After all, freelance martial artists were the most difficult to survive in any place. At the Tianxian land, Qin Wushuang had a sect at every step of the way. He had never tasted the taste of being a freelance martial artist. However, he had also seen the tragic fate of those freelance martial artists. As a rogue cultivator, if he got into a conflict with a sect, he would definitely die a horrible death. Initially at the Xianyuan Mound, in order to please Mu Rong Qianji, that orderly mountain prefecture master had publicly killed Iron Holler, that freelance martial artist who sold information. The mansion master's guards did not care about what the other rogue cultivators thought and killed Iron Holler directly. As for the others, although they had their own thoughts, even the most arrogant of them did not dare to say anything. Everyone knew that rogue cultivators were dregs in front of enormous forces. Qin Wushuang wasn't afraid of being a loose cultivator, but he didn't want to be involved in everything he did, which would greatly affect his efficiency. What he needed now was a stable platform, a sect that he could temporarily rely on, a huge sect where he could gather information about other planes. If he wanted to inquire about other planes, the average sect would obviously not be able to provide him with the information. In the celestial phenomenon continent, other than the main shrine, there were 4 other major powers. They were like the totem powers of the Tian Xian continent, controlling the 4 regions of the continent. Currently, Qin Wushuang was located in the hinterland. Overall, he was still leaning towards the west. In this western region, the strongest sect was called the 10,000 Eagle Palace. This 10,000 Eagle Palace was governed by layers and had an incredibly complicated system. Clearly, it was impossible to approach the 10,000 Eagle Palace. Qin Wushuang knew that although the celestial phenomenon continent did not discriminate against outsiders, in general, to elite warriors with unknown identities, it was extremely difficult to rely on sections. No matter what, there would always be a kind of psychological vigilance. On this day, Qin Wushuang arrived at a major city under the rule of the 10,000 Eagle Palace. This city was called the Flying Eagle City and was one of the 10 major cities under the rule of the 10,000 Eagle Palace. The scale of the city was extremely grand and spectacular. Here, a branch of the 10,000 Eagle Palace was set up. It was called the Flying Eagle Squad. Even the Flying Eagle Squad would not be easy to approach. Qin Wushuang knew that with his current identity, if he went to the Flying Eagle Squad rashly, it would be strange if he wasn't treated as a spy. After all, elite warriors of the Heavenly Supreme Tao sect were existences that could not be underestimated. Therefore, whether he was willing or not, he had to appear as a rogue cultivator. Rogue cultivators also had their own areas of activity. Qin Wushuang came to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance alone. In any region, as long as there were cultivators, there would definitely be rogue cultivators. Where there were rogue cultivators, there would definitely be a Rogue Cultivator Alliance. This was the first time Qin Wushuang came to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. He could not help but gasp in amazement. Above the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, there was a huge eagle carved on it. It looked extremely ferocious. It seemed that even the Rogue Cultivator Alliance had a deep imprint of the 10,000 Eagle Palace. It could be seen that the celestial phenomenon continent's control over the entire plane was still very strong. Qin Wushuang looked at the towering Rogue Cultivator Hall and walked in without much hesitation. After passing through a few majestic pillars, he entered the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. This Rogue Cultivator Alliance was actually comparable to the totem mystic realm in his previous life. Regardless of whether it was in terms of spiritual power or other aspects, it was far superior to the totem mystic realm. Qin Wushuang sighed inwardly. Indeed, it's an advanced plane. Even a Rogue Cultivator Alliance is so majestic, and this is only a Rogue Cultivator Alliance in a city. When he walked to the door, someone immediately came to receive him. This person was also an elite warrior of the Supreme Tao. Although he was only an ordinary elite warrior of the Coagulate Supreme Tao, his bearing and actions were clearly well-trained. It made Qin Wushuang click his tongue in wonder. An attendant of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance was also an elite warrior of the Supreme Tao. This was simply unimaginable in the Tian Xian land. Of course, at most, an elite warrior of the Coagulate Supreme Tao would only possess average strength at the celestial phenomenon continent. Before an elite warrior like Qin Wushuang, he did not have the capital to be arrogant. He came up to him with a smile. "Mr. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance is at your service. May I ask if you would like to stay, accept a bounty mission, or train?" Train? Qin Wushuang felt somewhat strange. Was there such a service as training? When that attendant saw that Qin Wushuang's language was rather stiff, he knew that he was an outsider. Although the entire Great Luo universe used the common language, the accents of different planes were vastly different. Before Qin Wushuang left the cave, he had carefully learned some of the native language of the celestial phenomenon continent. However, when he was performing on the spot, there were still some sounds. However, this was the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. There were all kinds of rogue cultivators from different places. His accent would not appear too out of place. Mister, it's like this. If you stay here, you will be charged according to the standard of the accommodation. If you want to train at the training place provided by the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, there will be another standard of charge. If you want to accept a mission or a bounty mission, the standard of charge will be different. Upon hearing his explanation, Qin Wushuang finally understood. This was a rare thing. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance provided training places, but he did not know what the conditions were. He was not in a hurry to ask. He could slowly understand. Let's drink some wine and get to know each other. Qin Wushuang smiled and walked inside. The service of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance was truly excellent. It was even better than the interstellar hotels in Qin Wushuang's previous life. All the details fully reflected the concept of the rich are the masters. Moreover, the fee would not be too expensive. Even if Qin Wushuang only had the lowest grade of Great Luo Crystal, it would be enough for him to stay here for 3 days. Moreover, Qin Wushuang did not have many Grade 1 Great Luo Crystals among the 1,000 low-grade Great Luo Crystals. They were at least Grade 2, and most of them were Grade 3. A Grade 3 Great Luo Crystal could be used 20 times as much as a Grade 1 crystal. After Qin Wushuang understood this level of spending, he realized that he was actually quite rich. Of course, he did not have the bad taste of flaunting his wealth. Instead, he chose to stay here and paid 1 Grade 2 Great Luo Crystal, which was equivalent to 10 Grade 1 crystals. This was enough for Qin Wushuang to stay for a month. When that waiter saw Qin Wushuang's generosity, he said with a smile, "Sir, do you need any other services?" Qin Wushuang said with a smile, "There are some things I need to ask you. Is there an extra fee for answering questions?" That waiter smiled. "Sir, answering the questions of the guests is our duty. Of course, there will be no extra fee. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I am at your service." Qin Wushuang inwardly praised. Indeed, the rich are the masters. This concept was different from the Tianxian land. In the Tianxian land, if you, an outsider, wanted to pretend to be rich in someone else's territory, you might be attacked in the next moment. He smiled. "Then sit down and drink with me." That waiter immediately said, "Honorable sir, we only serve the guests. We do not dare to drink with them. Please forgive us." Qin Wushuang did not force him. "All right, then let me ask you, compared to those major sects, which of the training places provided by the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance are better?" "Sir, if we are to compare with the top training places of the 4 major sects, for sure we are not as good. For this point, we will not exaggerate. However, compared to those second and third-rate sects, the training places of the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance are on par. However, we provide not only a place, but also a series of additional services. If you are an outsider and want to be affiliated with a sect, the conditions are much harsher." Qin Wushuang laughed. "Oh, the conditions to be affiliated with a sect are even harsher?" "Of course. If you want to be affiliated with other sects and occupy their territory to train, first you must meet their test. You also have to do this and that for them. There are many requirements. For us, you only need to pay enough Great Luo Crystal. There are no other additional conditions. Besides, we also provide a lot of crystal stones and spiritual medicine. As long as you need it, you can get it at any time after paying. You don't even have to leave the door." Indeed, it was a one-stop service. Qin Wushuang could not help but praise inwardly. This Tianxian land was indeed not something the Tianxian land could compare to. Thinking about the self-enclosed structure of the Tianxian land, Qin Wushuang sighed again. "Last night, I had to consult a cousin's daughter about the college entrance exam, which took some time. But rest assured, today's 5 chapters will not be short. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.